Friends, if you're looking for real old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today. It's Fish Friday. How's everybody doing? Greetings and welcome to Midnight's Edge in the morning. Do not adjust your sets. We are Andre free today. That's right. I get to play because Andre is off away seeing Ghostbusters. So while he's gone, we're going to have some fun. What's a Kotaku though? I'm completely confused. Everybody keeps asking me.
It's a hoagie.
Oh, I like hoagies. I thought it was like a taco. It's like a taco,
Mexican hoagie,
like a keto taco. I thought maybe is what it was.
The Mexican Japanese hoagie.
Mexican Japanese like Hoagie's Heroes. I like that. We should start a restaurant that just serves hoagies and call it Hoagie's Heroes.
And both of those are sandwiches. Isn't a hero sandwich too?
It is. Oh my God, it's a double entendre.
Yep.
Okay, guys, show's over. We're gonna go start a business. See ya.
I'm gonna go get a coffee.
Yes, the coffee man himself is here. That's Paul. He's off to get his coffee. Good morning. We also have with us Six this morning. How are you doing?
My whole body is vibrating with adrenaline. I just bought my tickets to see Phantom Menace in the theater May 3rd, like 5 times in a row.
That went a completely different direction than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, I was like, wow, we're early into it.
Yeah.
I'm all abuzz.
Yeah, exactly. Like a automatic ear cleaner going off, basically, is what I thought was happening. But anyway, that's a deep cut. Culture, how you doing?
Very well. Yeah, and it looks like my review is doing okay. So if you haven't seen my review, Six wants me to promote my review, so check out my review.
Did you do
review on Ghostbusters Frozen Empire?
Oh,
yeah.
That's great.
We actually have 3 people on the panel who have seen it.
Yeah.
I haven't.
It doesn't seem like the audience is showing up so much, but we'll talk about that a little bit here in a little bit. The big news, I guess, is this Kotaku business, so we're gonna have to talk a little bit about that. And if we have time, we have a few trailers and things to talk to, which actually lead into another story. So yeah, we're gonna get into all that business, but let's see who's out there. We've got regulars already, like Hyper Guyver. We got D-Bud swinging a wrench around, so watch out. He doesn't really watch where he swings it. Speaking of Ghostbusters, we got Packing Protons here. How you doing? We got Edward Cross here. I see Ham Dinger is here. So many regulars. Hit that like button. Share out the link. Let everybody know that we are live.
We are live.
That's correct. So with that, is that why the kids call it Vibin' Six?
I don't know.
Okay, sorry. I was just thinking. Emma, that's true.
Good vibes.
Like, you're more with it. You're more hip. So
that's true.
Now, whatever hip and with it is, I'm scared of. Like Grandpa Simpson says. I'm just not with it anymore. But yes, so most of us saw Ghostbusters, and we're going to talk about some stuff. Like this here from the Walt Man, who says, SBI News, Kotaku's parent company, has told them to only write game guides now.
Yep.
No more news.
No more nudes. No more nudes.
Editor-in-chief re-signed, and company has 7 writers left. Okay, so.
Oh, I did watch the first X-Men 97.
Oh, well, we'll get into that a little bit too. I
That's
didn't watch
related to
that.
Kotaku in a way.
So I was gonna say we can spin off of there from this. So first off, before the show, like I'm not even kidding. I don't even know what a Kotaku is. I am so out of the loop on that stuff.
It's a gamer
So
magazine online.
yeah, so Paul and Culture were trying to explain it to me. So real quick, for the few people in the audience who might be like me or totally have no idea what the hell this is all about, Paul, if you'll take the reins first, and then Culture, if you want to chime in on what this is all about.
Like PC Gamer, like there was a huge industry of gamer magazines, both physical and online. Kotaku has always
Nintendo
been,
Power.
Pardon me, what?
Nintendo Power.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's the last game magazine I read.
So yeah, there's just
sorry.
There's been a ton of like gaming magazines have been around for a long time. Kotaku, I believe, was one of the first online zines, and they actually did real reporting for a good chunk of time. I mean, maybe people will be angry at me saying this, but they uncovered some very good stories long time ago when they did some real journalism. But then they fell into the trap of Vice magazine and Slate and everybody, where they went for the clicks, and that was the addiction. That's the crack cocaine that has killed pretty much every online magazine these days, right? Culture, would you agree?
Oh, you're 100% right. I mean, and what's funny is as these entities have slowly started to come under scrutiny, lose support from equity funds and things like that, they've started to be acquired by larger and larger media groups that are trying to sustain them. And recently, well, one of the biggest ones, which actually owns Kotaku, Geo Media, has started to part with titles, basically the namesakes, the brand plates for these entities, and sell them off to what I'm going to call brand holding companies, because it's not like they're going to do much with them. Of course, a lot of people have heard of the sports magazine Deadspin that was also a part of Geo Media, and that's the one I'm referring to specifically that recently got sold off. But I predicted Kotaku would be gone a while ago, along with several of the other offerings there. I mean, they already lost to Jezebel. It just collapsed into the dust. But when it comes to gaming, I agree with Paul. At one point in time, there was valuable games journalism there. There hasn't been there for a while, maybe 6 or 7 years, maybe longer. But initially, this was a place where you could, not only find tips to how to get past certain parts of the game or find a secret, Easter egg or whatever, you could also get some real stories that, would talk about the inside of the industry. Oftentimes that would lead to the conversation around crunch and things like that. And, and just maybe some stuff inside a game that would be exciting for readers, but maybe the publisher didn't want to get out in the world yet. So you'd get some leaks and things. But again, then it slowly declined into what it became, which is a political magazine. And unfortunately, almost all of them are corrupted with that.
And the problem with going for clickbait is that it narrows your focus to a very specific audience, because clickbait does not work across all philosophies.
No,
it only works in the, you pick your poison. I'm going to be ultra right, middle right, Marxist. I'm going to just, and it's a very narrow niche that you got to pick to make it work. And it kind of worked for a while. I mean, for everybody, that clickbait era really was quite successful. But then the floor fell out of it because it was the same old all the time. People got tired, right? They got burned out, got tired of the clickbaiting. And now you've got Kotaku, which is a shell of itself, defending entities, diversity entities like Sweet Baby Inc., because that's the politics of these flying monkeys that remain whole, leaving the lights on in the facility.
Yeah, and it's kind of strange. I mean, they've been dwindling in staffing there for quite some time, and they've had trouble holding on to leadership there because you can replace the person that's in the job of leadership, like here, the editor in chief, Jen. Oh gosh, her last name was just on the screen. Glennon, Jen Glennon, was only in this job for 5 months because they let go the previous person in front of her for the same kinds of problems, a lot of political garbage. And so Kotaku just went about saying, you know what, we are done with a lot of this stuff. We're just going to have you write game guides.
Well, the publisher said that.
Yeah,
Yep.
the publisher. Yeah, so the EIC said, well, we're not going to be able to, cover our political, or I won't be able to write or direct people to write these political hack job stories, and so I'm leaving. Well, good luck. Digital media is collapsing right now, as Paul can attest to. And there's not really anywhere to go. So go start up your what are those newsletter things now called? Substacks?
Substacks.
Yeah. So go off and write your Substack and have nobody care there. It's odd because these people do think they are entities unto themselves, and in some ways they are. But it's much like with Mary Sue and many of these other entities, because they are so narrow niche. At a certain point, you can only be wrong so many times, or you can only say the same thing so many times before people go, I'm not sure that's really true, or I'm tired of hearing what you're saying.
I think it's more of that.
Yeah. So anyway, so Glennon left. She got the job in October, so she resigned yesterday. And she hates the fact that they are deprioritizing news. Well, you have to go into something that people are going to care about and read. And if you're not getting the clicks, because as Paul said, you're too clickbaity. It sounds an awful like Warren Beatty, but anyway, you're not going to draw an audience, and that's the biggest problem. Is Geo and every other digital outlet is suffering right now. That's
well, and let's be completely clear.
Yeah,
in this age of digital media, everybody knows where their audiences are coming from. When we build a website, it doesn't take long before I'm able to tell the client, oh, like everyone is going to your portfolio page. 80% of the clicks are going to your portfolio page. I wouldn't worry about updating the other stuff. Like, there's just no point. And I guarantee you, Kotaku, which has a broad range of offerings, including the gamer summaries, which they want to move to, right? They want to do 50 of those a month per reporter or per writer. Now, what was that? Culture?
Say that one more time.
Each writer now has to crank out 50 game summaries.
I think it's just the team. The 7 writers have to kick out 50.
Not each writer.
50 guides a week.
50 guides. Okay.
Yeah,
for all of them, right?
Yeah,
so
and
obviously that's probably what most people are clicking on. Why would the publisher make that pronouncement?
Look, I mean, it's the same reason that the previous editor-in-chief, I think her name was Patricia Hernandez or something. It's the same reason why she was fired, is because she was writing about things that apparently weren't getting clicks, and it's I think she complained because she was writing about Tears of the Kingdom. But it goes on. And the problem is this is all interlinked, because these people are the people to run the puff pieces in defense of Sweet Baby Inc., which is what Alyssa McConaughey recently did over there at Kotaku, that basically just expanded a problem. It created even more of the Streisand effect in a way that they were really not hoping for. And it's also pointed a finger at these big events like the Game Developers Conference and things like that, where there's some ridiculous things that Tom had up on the screen for a moment there, where they all bind together in unity to scream about the Sweet Baby Inc. and Gamergate 2 and the industry.
and this is so weird, because I used to design magazines, the kind that you actually printed and read. I don't know if you remember those.
Yeah.
And I was involved in a lot of what are called publishing meetings, right? And what's interesting is that we had people of various political persuasions, but we all knew what the raison d'etre of the magazine was, and that was to sell magazines.
Right.
And you had a cover that had to, be of a kind, but that also had to fulfill the brand requirements of the magazine. I mean, if it's, hunting and fishing, it's going to be somebody in camo with a rifle and a rod, right? I mean, I'm just joking, but
no, it's true though.
And so what's driving me nuts is that we've got this, and we've already documented this as it relates to Disney and comics and everything, that we're pulling our hair out, is that why is this generation of individuals not interested in making money for their bosses? Like, we don't get it. And there is a way of making both things work, but these people are going in with an agenda first. And why? Of course, you're going to lose your job if you're not helping your publisher make money with the publication that you've been hired to work on. Like, I don't understand these idiots. It just doesn't make any kind of sense. So, you are lucky to work for somebody, you're making a living, and then you're cutting off your nose to spite your face just to get out this stupid bullshit, baby ink stuff and all the other nonsense that they're doing. And also, you probably have access, like I said, to the stats, and they're not reading to any of this stuff that you want to do.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it, and again, a lot of it just centers around this group that they've formed up, these activists that have infiltrated not just the journal, the journalistic sites that used to be journalistic like this, but also that have invaded the industries, that are not making money or that are compromised, like, well, the gaming industry itself. And so you get conferences like this over at the GDC, the Game Developers Conference, and they had 50 plus game developers organized to go out and scream. They had it's called the GD Scream, and it was organized by Scott Siegel and Carol Shaw. And they basically went into the middle of Yerba Buena Gardens and had a proper scream. I think there's video of it in the story, perhaps, but
so these are game developers that did this.
Yes. And the reporters
game developers that don't sell any games.
Right, and the reporters that cover them. Because the GDC, just is one of those things.
I used to go to it every year when we were in the game business. It was fantastic. In San Jose. We just had such a great time. And under normal conditions, most game developers wouldn't give them the time of day. They'd just go, like, these people are crazy. I mean, you won't find a more cynical bunch of people than programmers who are stuck in a darkened room for most of their lives.
Yeah.
I don't get this. I'll have to read this.
There's a reason why there's mass layoffs right now that are happening across the board in gaming. I mean, they're just they're kind of trying to sweep some of these worthless people off the planet. So you've got well, let me read the quote. So this is the people that organized this. The Scream was organized by Scott John Siegel and Carol Shaw in response to growing discontent among game developers in the face of ongoing industry mass layoffs, as well as coordinated harassment campaigns against marginalized individuals and overall fears of worsening industry conditions, all of which they're the people creating the problems.
Well, speaking of marginalized individuals, we have one right here.
I heard this channel talking about games, and nobody on this channel right now has a right to talk about video games, since I know I play more games than anybody. Well, I don't know about more in Chato, but even still, I'm the only minority here, and so I'm here to pick up a check. I'm here to pick up a check for Sweet Taco Baby Inc., my new consulting company.
I thought it was about tacos.
Yeah. Sweet Taco Baby Inc. is available to everybody on this live stream and to your channel for $1,000 an hour. PayPal accepted. I will provide you with advice. Thank you.
I just like to complain that your corn controllers fall apart really quickly.
That does not concern yourself. That's irrelevant. You are paying for access, not performance, when you hire Sweet Taco Baby Inc. You are paying for the assurance of getting me on a picture on your website to show that you're not racist. Look.
I want to say that I prefer flour tortillas most of the time.
You can have whatever you want. I just want the check to clear.
Okay.
All right, continue on with your reading.
I would like to buy your visage and post it on my channel, just to make sure that I am a diverse channel.
For $1,000 an hour, you can have that.
I'm cheaper, Paul, and I come with a beard.
Right, but no one cares about you because you're white. We already established that. I heard Paul's comments before I came on. No one cares.
Thank you.
Continue on. Sorry, I interrupted the show.
No, you're
Sorry, I'm
fine.
late.
Tom, did you want to play this Screamy video?
There's a video.
Yeah, scroll
Oh
down. in
yeah,
that
you haven't
story.
seen it?
No, I haven't seen
Well, I've
it.
seen plenty of retards scream before. Why do I want to see more?
These are
That's
new
good.
retards.
Oh, and it's in stereo on my end. How
Yeah.
goodiness. You guys don't
Yeah.
get to hear it in
Oh,
stereo out
purple
there.
hair.
Yeah, and a cat lady sweater.
She's rocking that moo in full effect, dude.
Oh yeah,
That's a lot of people.
Look at that rainbow hair.
Yeah.
rainbow bright, see the shining light.
I'm still not getting this. These are people who are screaming at the people inside GamersCon, like they have not bought a ticket.
Right.
Okay. So they're not at GamersCon per se.
But why
They're
are they
what?
screaming at it?
I just read their whole reason.
Read it again, Culture.
All right. Okay. So this is what it is. The Scream was organized by Scott John Siegel and Carol Shaw in response to growing discontent among game developers in the face of an ongoing industry mass layoffs, as well as coordinated harassment campaigns that they I'm adding
Right.
that they did against marginalized individuals and overall fears of worsening industry conditions. So they went out there to scream about the job they have.
Well, I mean,
But-
in the same way that you have a choice not to buy Spider-Man 2 and go down the LGBT plus alleyway to fight baddies, you can not buy a game that has got no representation at all. I mean, Helldiver.
Helldivers too, yeah.
Yeah, people are complaining, or something. People. One person's complaining that you can't have an LGBT, a Wi-Fi password flag,
Right.
Wi-Fi password people flag in the game, and the developers have told them to go away in no uncertain terms, and so don't buy the game. Like I'm not understanding.
Well, let me give you some insight into their brains, okay? Because this is their mindset, and this is a quote from one of them saying, because we talked about diversity in games and we are all marginalized people and we're all looking at each other going, yeah, it sucks. For some reason we have to do this and we cannot do this. And I don't know how to deal with the obligation of having to do this just because I am the person that I am.
The brown guy has a question in the back.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Yes,
That would be Mr. Brown Guy, Culture.
stand up, please.
Okay, Mr. Kadish.
What? No. What is the skin color or who you want to bang at night have anything to do with writing good code related to a video game?
Well, I don't know, Mike.
And here's the other thing. On that video, a whole bunch of them were white. Shouldn't they be screaming at each other if it's something about diversity and crap like that? Shouldn't they be screaming at each other?
I think you could put a complaint in that the complainers were not diverse enough.
That's my point. I
Yep.
mean, it's like me. What am I supposed to do? I'm half in Native American, half Spaniard, bangs Native American, out comes a Mexican. That's who I am, right? Spaniard, bangs Native American, pop, you get a Mexican. That's what a Mexican is. That's the recipe, right? So, like, am I supposed to pay reparations to myself when I'm playing on my gaming computer behind me? Like, what? This is just so stupid.
I will guarantee you that entire group, if they are all game developers, have probably sold about 8 floppy disks total of games.
Maybe, but look, at least somebody on the business side is acknowledging that this is a problem, because one of the people quoted in the story from that Park Place said specifically, the industry is in an interesting spot where our fiscal needs and our creative needs are not matching up. And it's causing a lot of damage, which I think will have long-term effects on the pipeline. I agree with that.
But creative is the wrong term.
Well, you have
This
to be
is-
creative
this
in
is-
gaming.
Pardon me?
You have to be creative in gaming.
No, but throwing up, again, I don't want to concentrate on this one group. That's not my intention.
No, I understand.
But,
Yeah, I understand.
but throwing up, the Wi-Fi password people flag into a game does not constitute creativity. Substituting a white Norse god for a black female in God of War 2 is not creative. None of these additions that they are demanding are in any way creative.
Well, you're right, but I think there's also a reason why there was a big push to unionize all these folks way back when, or
Oh
I guess
God, that's
somewhat
the worst
recently.
idea ever.
And what that did is it created all this weird leverage and this feeling of safety in an industry where you should be on your, pins and needles and on your toes at all times. I mean,
Well, except listen, I was a part of that industry, and I spent a lot of time in the mid '90s going to the gamers cons,
right,
and it was very rapacious.
right.
And I got to meet some of the, I guess what you would call them, superstar programmers.
Rapacious? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I don't even know what that word means. How do you say that in Spanish?
It's
look
greedy. It's greedy. It's just aggressively greedy.
All right, that's fancy. That's fancy white man talk. We don't have that in South Carolina. That's
If
fancy
you've
white
never
man talk.
you've never heard of a rapacious business model, anyway,
No,
go
we
ahead.
don't talk like that here in South Carolina because right now it's hotter than June. I'm hotter than June bug on a Georgia peach, middle of August.
So
I'm feeling rapacious.
Well, where was I going? God damn
I
it.
went to gamer cons and they were
Yeah,
very
so
much
I was-
the word I
so-
don't
so
know.
So you had a handful of superstar programmers. They would literally be poached from one game to another. There was really very little loyalty in the gaming programming community anyway, because one individual could write the code that would solve the problems of your real-time engine. And I met these guys.
Right.
And that was one of the biggest problems in Silicon Valley compared to places like Vancouver and Toronto and Montreal, where generally the game companies found that once you got a team together, they were fairly loyal and stable. But that wasn't the case in San Jose, right?
That's my hometown. That's where I'm from. And if there's anything about San Jose, I can tell you this much. There's not a whole lot of mentally stable that comes out of that town. That's my hometown. I was raised and went to junior high, elementary school, high school in San Jose, California.
Not the most attractive town.
No, and I can tell you this much: Mexican Iron Man was like Indiana Jones finding the hot chicks in San Jose, and it was like hunting for a holy grail on most days. And definitely at night past 8, 9 o'clock. If you didn't get to the bars early, then there were slim pickings past 11:30. So says a friend of mine that told me. Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, regardless, the industry itself is having a struggle internally, and it's being reflected in all of these different various places, from the game magazines like Kotaku all the way through the people that are spouting off from these game developer conferences and everywhere else that they lie.
But no one is saying it's actually the games themselves that have broken the brand promise. So whether you like Saints Row or not, I never liked Saints Row. I found it an unbelievably offensive game, so I didn't buy it.
I loved it, and I'm very disappointed that you found it offensive.
Yeah, and I wasn't interested in playing it. Yes, you're disappointed. So I chose not to play it, and that's fine. But it had a specific brand. Yeah. It worked a certain way. Yeah. It did things a certain way, and it treated characters in it a certain way. And then when you develop a game that has now been and then it got sanitized, it broke the brand. It broke the promise that it made to all of its fan base.
Yes.
And so no one bought it.
Yes.
So why would the developer think that, oh, I've now improved this thing? Don't make the game. Don't make the game if you can't fulfill the promise of the previous of what you've built up over the years. Well, it's crazy.
Embracer bought Volition, which had already started to be infected with these knuckleheads.
Okay.
And was heavily influenced by Sweet Baby's CEO. And they built out a game that you're right, nobody wanted to play. Volition's no longer an active studio anymore.
Right. They imploded just based on that game.
And we've been watching Kotaku implode on the writing, on the journalist. Gosh, I hate using journalist side of things. And you're seeing you're seeing a lot of these studios suffer. I mean, there's a game right now that's under fire called Unfollowing or some such. And the minute they got tied to Sweet Baby, because what's her name? Michelle Belair, something Belair. Anyway, the minute they tied her to this, the people that were involved with the game, they were flipping out, trying to say, well, no, she really wasn't, yada, yada, yada. And somebody released recently that Flintlock is another one of these games that's out there that Mark Kern was bringing attention to. So you're starting to see more and more of these things that when they're tied to Sweet Baby and similar, advocacy groups, the gamers are just going to reject them. So that's
we'll
what
see what happens with GTA 6.
Oh, we already know it's corrupted, but to what extent?
Extent?
When you let go, you let go two of the highest, most valuable people there. One of the Hauser brothers and one of the other writing partners there. Prior to engaging fully in development of that game, it's a real problem.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have a hard time making a good game without the people that understand what makes those games work and the people that created narrative design for those games. So I think it's going to be a problem, and I'm kind of worried with GTA 6, and because I love those games, I really do.
Oh, they're groundbreaking, crazy games, and then you've got. I mean, my son plays a game where you're a robber, and you're wearing masks, and you're doing not nice things to police. A Payday.
Well, let's see.
Sorry,
no, go ahead and finish, Paul. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that is what the game is about. So if you sanitize it, the people who have been playing it are not going to play it. I have a theory that yes, a game developer needs to make back the money that they spent on developing the game. But really, when a consumer buys that game and hopefully takes it to profitability, that consumer is actually telling the game developer, here's my money for the next game. So the paying for the development of the existing game so they can then make the next game, those are two different things. And I think the game developers are too fixated on that idea that, oh my God, this game has now been profitable. No, that's not what we're doing. We're saying we're giving you money now because when you are profitable, you're going to put that into the next game. And the next game has got to be the same or better than what I'm playing now. That's actually what the gamers are doing. And this is what the game companies are forgetting. They can't just take that cash and do whatever the fuck they want. That's not the promise that the gamers are expecting when we've invested our money in that game, because we've really invested in the next game. That's what we're really doing. This is why we feel cheated, and this is why people don't understand that concept.
Yeah. I think in a lot of ways you're right, which is also why we feel betrayed by games media or any other form of urinalism that has been compromised by neo-Marxist destructionism.
Yes. Anyway, okay.
Yeah, that was fun. We have a bunch of super chats.
Let's do it.
And I wish I had control of the stream.
I was just going to say, let's see what you guys are saying out there in the chat, but I wanted to let you guys finish. Red Dawn Batman says the name comes from the Japanese otaku, obsessed fan, and the prefix ko, small in size. It is kind of ironic.
Yeah. Wow.
There you go. And then Snake Eyes says kotaku is another word for, or KOT at least, for feces in German, Kat-aku. Oh. Thanks for the 249 there, Snake Eyes. We appreciate that.
I'm with you. Danke.
All right.
Bitte schön.
Let's see here. What else is there about this specific topic before we move into another one? Here we've got one from Tennille who says, putting the in organized scream at GDC. I don't expect Tom's final prediction would be so literal. God help me, I almost feel bad for them. Yeah, neither did I. Not like actual literal Like, I just figured they'd try to make a bunch of moves, or we'd have to sacrifice some lambs like Star Wars, for instance.
Like,
but yeah,
they were yelling at the building. So they were not.
They were angry at that building.
They were not. Yes, they were not. Like I said, they did not pay to get into the conference and then scream. That's what it looks like. So I'm. That's why I was asking Culture to just reread that description, because it's sort of mischaracterized. That I think it's important to say that none of these developers were attending GDC.
Do you know that?
I don't know. Why would they?
It suggested that they were all attendees.
But did it? Okay.
Yeah.
It didn't look like they could afford to go.
Well,
but I just see. Here's what I was trying to, and I mean, maybe you guys did answer it, and I just missed it because I wasn't paying attention, because I don't give a shit about this. But like, no, but like, I'm trying to figure out, like, are them doing that whole screaming bit? Is that like the equivalent of when the people in Hollywood bitch that the Oscars are so white? It's like, the industry is this way because you made it that way.
It's more like the what is it? The people against gas.
Yeah, it's a lot like that. That's exactly what it's like.
Just Stop Oil. Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot like the Just Stop Oil crowd.
I'm against gas.
Those are.
I don't like Culture's gas.
Those folks are all funded by the WEF, and they're NGOs, but it's just the idea behind that. It's like, you really don't understand how much plastic is involved in your life, or perhaps how much oil in other forms is involved in your life. You wouldn't be able to have air conditioning.
Almost everything in your daily life has some sort of.
It's like I'm surrounded by a ton of electronics.
Your shoes,
surrounded by a ton of plastic, right? And yeah, it's
cars,
insane.
Your everything. Yeah. Chaos Sonic 1 sends in 5 and says, will Yellow Flash be here? Because, oh boy, the new gaming news is a doozy, especially GDC screaming. Oh yeah, I'm pissy because he didn't show up today, but that's all right. He had family matters he had to deal with. So hopefully everybody's feeling better over at his house.
Everybody wanted to see Yellow Flash. Instead, you got the diversity higher. God, it feels just like Star Wars and
the
Kotaku.
Mexican Flash.
Yeah, we wanted Yellow Flash, but you got Mike the Mexican instead.
Iron Man. All right, we got more.
Yeah, so we wish he was here, but unfortunately he wasn't able to make it today. But hopefully he'll be back next week. Let's see here. What else we got? According to this otaku crap, I think this has to do with it. Michael Nemo says this isn't good or bad. Oh no, this is something else. This is for Acolyte stuff, which we will get to. So hang on to that thought. Gladiator sends in 14 South African Rand, says, Mikey, Yadays is new game changer. Will Russell win? What?
I didn't know what that meant, but I saw the word game in it.
Oh, Mikey.
I think that's the
what is
Disney thing?
Can I finish? Who's interrupting me? Hold on. Stop interrupting me. We're not on the pro show. Okay. That was a joke. Get it? Ha ha. All right. So he wants to know if the
Mikey, I'm sorry that you were getting interrupted. This is why we gotta hire. Where'd you go, 6? No, leave me with 6. You guys get off the screen. Leave me with 6. ISS is see now I'm all tongue twisted. The ISS news has to do with the advisory of institutional investors to back Nelson Peltz's movement towards getting on the board, and ISS issued a recommend for the board nominees that Nelson Peltz has. Why is my camera off all of a sudden? For Nelson Peltz to come on the board. Is it a game changer? I don't really think so. I think it is a political move, but in terms of counting votes, I don't think there's a battle here to be had, because most of the institutional votes that count are already in the pocket of Bob Iger. The 3 largest institutional investors are well entrenched on the board, well entrenched in Iger's pocket. And with the great news that George Lucas is voting all of the shares, the value of those shares from Lucas completely wipes out all of the voting value
from a numerical basis of Perlmutter, Peltz, and all that Rasulo and company managed to get together. So that massive shares that they were getting wiped out by what George Lucas announced. And so it's going to be a bloodbath, and it's going to be an ass kicking, and I'm not happy about it, but it is what it is. Why am I still on the big screen?
I don't know. But we're just admiring your Mexican sexiness. Your Mexiness? Mexiness.
And if no one believes me, I'm using the sombrero of truth to share this financial news today.
Well,
Sure.
I mean, Lucas controls about 2.1% of Disney, and so does Rasulo and Peltz and
right. So Lucas wiped out everything that they had amassed. Thank you for validating it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Paulus Plain reminds us that Sweet Baby Ink Detected has now amassed 316,918 curators. There you go. Curator followers, yeah.
Yeah, that's continuing to grow. Not to mention the number of I guess followers on top, or what I forget what the other distinction is, but the group has grown substantially and will continue.
Log on to my Steam account and follow it. God damn it!
There you go.
Yeah, why didn't you?
I didn't think of it.
Pinochet's Helicopter Tour sends in 2 and says Jason Schreier started the left lurch of game media.
True story. Yeah. Yeah, he's the guy that kept writing, "Oh, crunch is bad, crunch is bad." You know what? You ever cram for a test, jackass?
DCB Titan says Culture, the game you were thinking of before is
Flintlock.
Was Unknown 9.
Unknown 9. Okay, yeah. Both Flintlock and Unknown 9 are now confirmed to be compromised.
There you go. And then we got this one for Paul here, who says, well, obviously, observable reality is racist, says Tennille.
Thank you, TDL.
Yes. And Lord Xenu Saves is admiring Culture's beard this morning.
Thank you.
Unless he means sixes. I don't know. Do you have a beard 6?
Nope. Just checked.
Okay.
Wait.
All right.
You just checked?
Yeah.
I see. Okay. I would imagine that it's 6s. I probably shouldn't finish that thought.
No. That's a Joan Rivers joke.
Pussy.
I have so many facelifts that I've got a goatee.
Oh.
That's a Joan Rivers joke.
I got it.
I miss her. I miss her.
I do too.
I don't miss. Sadly, that's what killed her.
I don't miss the later version of her, where she was just begging. But I do.
I don't know. I think she did a great job of telling everybody. I can't say that either.
No.
Dr. Long Dongler, I can say that much, and sends in £1.99 to remind us to pound that like button. Thank you so much if you haven't already. And then Jillian. Holy crap, gifting 5 memberships this morning. Thank you, Jillian N. We appreciate that.
And everybody, because we didn't have a show yesterday on Midnight's Edge, it's Jillian's birthday.
As she points out here in this $10 super chat, says, it was my birthday yesterday. May I please have some birthday greetings from Bat Tom? Well, of course. I think we can rustle him out of bed. Good morning. What's going on? Oh, birthday for Julian. And hello, everyone. It was my birthday yesterday. May I please have some birthday greetings from Bad Tom? Thank you. Well, happy birthday, Jillian. And even though all you got for your birthday was a crappy Penguin trailer, I am so sorry. It doesn't even have me in it. How can you have Batman without Batman? I don't know, but I suppose you want me to go through the thingy here. Yes. Yeah. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Insert kid's name here, which happens to be Jillian N. We have it on the screen. See, I'm not that stupid. I'm the world's greatest detective. Happy birthday to you. Where's my $20?
I'll PayPal it to you, buddy.
All right.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. 6 you were saying?
I said happy birthday, Jillian.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, happy birthday, Jillian. We appreciate you being here. And then we've got,
you know what?
Matthew.
As far as being a detective, Batman was kind of the first CSI. I think that's what made him interesting to me. He was the first thing that I ever read or saw where he had gear that would do all the stuff that we now is common in CSI.
See, I thought being your age, you would have loved Dick Tracy, who came way.
Oh, I didn't like Dick Tracy at all.
Well, he had gear.
And he was before my time.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing him in the comic books and the newspapers, but I found him boring.
Oh, really? You didn't
Yeah.
like the shoe phone or the watch phone? The watch phone.
No, because they always like did a side view of him.
What about Get Smart?
I love Get Smart.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
See, now I thought, being Culture's age, that he would have liked cave drawings.
You are on fire.
I know that wasn't my bad. That was dumb. Sorry. I'm still thinking about my Star Wars tickets.
Oh boy, you still tingling inside?
Oh,
Or
the
outside?
next Star Wars.
Anyways, so yeah, I just wanted to say that we've lost that side of Batman, maybe because shows like CSI have taken the steam out of it. But I want to see more Batman detective.
Well, and to a certain extent, think about how Spider-Man had gear and his own set of gear porn. You know,
Not just that, but because he was so smart, he was a nuclear physicist. Smarty pants. The early comics had him doing a lot of smarty
sciencey stuff. Yeah,
they don't like that.
I do. I like sciencey stuff.
Well, anyway.
So, like, I want a new Knight Rider. Can you make that show, Paul?
I would love a new Knight Rider.
I want a new
car. What car? Pick a new car.
And just to be clear, Dark King points out, and this is true, Sherlock Holmes was the first CSI. That's true.
But
that's true. Yeah,
but
no, I completely agree.
Paul's too old for Sherlock.
No, he was around before Sherlock Holmes. That was before his time.
I think it'd be great if Knight Rider was a EV and he would keep running out of electricity.
Be great. I mean, just to show the reality of life. Like I'm chasing this criminal down the road, but
Michael, you need to plug me in quick.
We're in the middle of Arizona in the summer, and I have to turn off the air conditioning just to keep up with the guy.
Yeah. Oh wow, that'd be terrible. I need to redirect energy away from life support in the middle of Death Valley. Okay.
Yeah. Speaking of being cool and redirecting energy, we got a couple more here.
Hey,
Cyrano2960 says, "What is your take on the Kotaku reporter on CBC stating Kabrutus has the power to cancel games on Steam?"
Wow.
Yeah, this
thing's heating up.
There was 2 shows that they did. I didn't hear this one. I just heard the one with Matt Galloway. And the person, like, they brought in Kotaku, and they didn't have an opposing view, and it was just ridiculous. And Kotaku was allowed to spew their bullshit without any kind of pushback, because nobody at the CBC is a gamer. Wow. I have asked to talk to either of the hosts, and they've not responded to me.
There you go. Retromeister sends in 10 and says, "Here's a question about the Screaming Re event. Did Ghostface attend? Or did he stay far away from these idiots, possibly since they were already offing themselves?" Well, yeah, they were doing the job for him.
Yeah,
so
Ghostface is too busy. He's got
scary video games.
Yeah, he's got to help out Nev. The next one.
That's true.
The last one, probably.
Hopefully. And I think we've got all the Kotaku, Katubadubi.
Taco,
burrito. And since we brought it up, did you guys want to react real quick to the Penguin trailer?
Do I have to?
Seen it.
Sure.
Okay. Well,
I think it's up. It should be up to chat.
You can play it.
I think it was mentioned, so that's why I figured we could talk about it quick.
Yeah, I've seen it.
You can play it.
You have Richard Kind, Colin Farrell playing Richard Kind, pretending to be Robert De Niro in a show where Matt Reeves thinks he's Martin Scorsese and no Batman. That's what you got.
Are we going to watch
my reaction. Oh no, I'm not chancing Warner Brothers coming after us.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been silent because I thought we didn't do Warner Brothers videos.
Yeah. Well, they all are. Like, even Disney has been jerks lately.
Tom, I got to tell you, this Kotaku thing is such a big deal because the gaming industry is so much larger than what we do in terms of Hollywood and TV shows. I mean,
sadly, it's just not in my purview. And I thought this morning was going to be easy peasy because it's up my alley. Even though Andre's off seeing Ghostbusters, I can talk Ghostbusters. That's my, that's my alley. Yeah, no, we can talk about this Taku thing.
Well,
But-
But dude,
the
it's
gaming
major.
industry is $100 billion industry versus
Oh, it is. I get it.
$1 film and music business. I mean, it dwarfs.
I get it. That's why I've just sat back and let y'all do the gaming thing. Yeah.
And it's true. I mean, if that's actually the statement that the super chat was talking about a moment ago, he's not canceling the games. The games still can be made and created. He didn't cancel them. He just made people aware that it has a lot of bullshit in it that people are tired of.
Well, and the mainstream media, or at least the CBC, characterized him as the enemy, and what he was doing was bad. Literally, all he has done is list the games that were on the Sweet Baby Inc. website.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Then, like I said in the pre-chat, this is exactly the same as the problem we're having in the Toronto District School Board here, is that we've got an individual that takes our educational product and conveys it to people in general on Twitter, and the school board goes nuts. They're freaking out. Well, how dare you tell the general public the stuff that we're teaching the kids? and somehow that is bad. All they're doing is taking the school material and publishing it. And the school boards are going crazy because I don't know why. They want to keep it a secret. And
I know why.
It's crazy.
I know why. Because wacko leftists are like Satan, and they like to operate in the dark of night.
I guess so.
True.
Yeah. Don't you dare tell the general public what we're actually teaching your kids.
Nope.
But I think that is just indicative of how the interest in the Penguin is going to go. You just saw it. Nobody is going to care. They're going to start worrying about other things.
I'm not watching it. Are you kidding me? And I'm like a super Batman guy.
And speaking of other trailers, the Alien Romulus trailer dropped as well, as Callum Lyle points out here with an Australian $2.
Now that one
Thank
I
you so
did like.
much. He hopes Alien Romulus does well. I didn't hate the trailer. Not that there was much to see. I just kind of felt like I was watching like a video game, though. See, maybe it's just because I'm so used to alien stuff not being CG, and the few times they have done CG in the past until the recent stuff. I don't know. Maybe that's what didn't set right with me.
I don't know. I liked it.
I like the Beetlejuice trailer a little bit better, which I believe was brought up here. Where did it go?
Yeah, I saw the trailer to Beetlejuice.
Ben Dowdy says the juice is loose, and he is once again.
Now, when was the movie originally done? How many decades ago was the first one?
1988.
1988. And what's interesting, though, is because of the way Beetlejuice looks, what's his name doesn't even look any different.
Sort of. I wish they would have done something to not make him look like he was so old. Like they could have just digitally fudged out some of the cracks in his face. Because to me, otherwise, he sounds fine. He looks all right, except for that. He just looks a little old and haggard compared to what Beetlejuice should look like.
Beetlejuice looked kind of worn out.
Yeah. Well, he had a much rounder face back then, and some other thing. Obviously, was very young back then.
Yeah.
Compared to now. So I'm just saying that was my minor gripe with it. Otherwise, there was just something about it that just didn't feel real. I was kind of half-assed joking because we've had somebody made the post and I can't remember who it was, so I apologize. But like they said, the problem with Hocus Pocus 2 and Beetlejuice 2 being a reality is the tough part about convincing all those people who've been posting the news breaks for the last 12 years that they were right, that they actually weren't. Like basically those are the reasons these exist now, because they became the meme. But yeah, for those who are interested, we'll see how it rolls. I thought it was kind of really a tease of a teaser. If anything, you don't get a lot in it. But what did you guys think?
I liked it. I said I liked it.
Yeah,
besides whoever said anything.
I liked it. I didn't have any objections to it. The teaser. It was a good teaser. The only objection is that we'd like new stuff. I think the audiences out there are a little bit worn out by remakes. But
hang on to that thought.
I'm completely worn out with remakes of everything. I'm gonna go see Ghostbusters on Saturday. I've completely blocked out anybody and anything on my YouTube feed of someone talking about it. No offense, Tom, sorry, but I'm gonna go see it Saturday afternoon, evening. And but in general, Look, someone could tell me it's amazing. I'm sick of seeing the same. I'm really burnt out of seeing the same crap in a different iteration. I'm sick and tired of seeing Hollywood playing not to lose instead of playing to win.
Well, we might actually get to a story about that if we get through the other stuff here. We've been sitting on for a while.
Okay.
The kids are even getting sick of this stuff that Andre found this story for.
What?
And it's ironic because we've been getting nothing but remakes, reboots, rebootquels, and all that stuff has been announced now. But we'll get to that shortly. We got to get to some other news here first. Like this, Tennille says, we need Mr. Canoehead and Bat Tom to save us. Well, only if Mexican Iron Man joins up with the Revengers.
Yeah.
And we spell it like Revengers.
Yeah, I like it.
When you enter my house downstairs, right? Paul knows where this is at. When you enter, the first thing you see is a Mexican Iron Man doll and Mr. Canoehead, and they're side by side with Bat Tom on the same shelf right now. Like that's what's downstairs, right when you enter the door on the left.
You know what's cool though? Mexican Iron Man figure actually talks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He actually no, I'm not
Just
kidding.
have a
He actually
bobblehead.
Yeah, he actually has audio clips on it.
Yeah, we'll save that for Mead one night. I'll do a demo.
Yeah. I have that too. That's an excellent figure. And they're all out now, aren't they?
They're
You said
gone.
They're all gone.
All gone.
Yeah. And then Callum says on the whole alien bit, it might be after the isolation game. Could be. We'll have to see. Rogue Thinker's been a member for 23 months. Thank you for that. And Hound Monkey has been a member for 7 months. Thank you for that as well.
I thought it was Pound Monkey, but I've been corrected.
Okay, let's grab this one here because it's kind of just looks like a bit of a off of what we're talking about here. 52 movies a year sends in 1999 says Kevin Bacon announced he is going back to Payson High School where they filmed Footloose for this year's prom. If you could bring awareness to this campaign, maybe you can stop it, as everyone knows dancing is actually bad. Well, I mean, you know, it was against the law there.
Talk about a movie that doesn't age well. Here's a movie that it was illegal to dance, and now it's legal for me to go in a women's bathroom if I dress like a girl. How far? Boy,
well, the new Footloose would actually be cock loose.
Good job, Team Progressive and Team Liberal. Way to take us into the future. Good job.
Yeah, look what's happened to Planet Fitness.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah.
Go Team Democrat.
I'm surprised Footloose hasn't been one of those movies they've tried to cancel yet. But anyway, let's see here. We have at the top of the list, getting into the Ghostbuster news, guys. Hyperguyver 2 sends in $5. Says, glad to see I was right about Ghostbusters. Fun family movie that felt like an episode of Real Ghostbusters. Also, Phoebe is not gay. Patrick Robinson sends in $9.99 and says, seeing Ghostbusters tonight, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Afterlife just do okay box office wise? And it was DVD Blu-ray sales that helped get a sequel. For the most part, yeah, it also came out right at the tail end of the whole pandemic business. And I feel like if they had just waited a little longer, it probably could have done much better. Because that's what Top Gun did, is push it clear out to the next year if they had done the same thing. And I think the same thing's going to have a problem here. Because culture, the box office isn't looking great for Ghostbusters, but it's kind of on par with Afterlife. But that's the problem, is it shouldn't be on par with Afterlife.
Yeah, this should be a much bigger one. And the problem is this was already trending in a direction that I was uncomfortable with, because the long range forecast for it wasn't looking so hot. It was, figured by Box Office Pro, who does a pretty decent job with their early predictions of landing somewhere between 31 and 43 million on its opening weekend. This is trending more like maybe 43 to 45 million in its opening weekend, but that's
That's
still
what I was thinking. Yeah.
not good. And you have like a domestic total high-low range up from Box Office Pro. They put it between 85 and 126 million in its total run domestically, and I still think it'll be a little bit higher. I think we're going to look in the high 140s by the end of the run. But some of the things that it has in its favor is it can stay in theaters for a while. I mean, it's going to have a little bit of competition coming up
and
here.
Basically, if it makes close to 200 million, add in,
and then take that. Well, I'm going to say 180. So take that. Say if it gets at 180, multiply that times 2, which is another 360. So 360 and 180, add those together. That's going to be your worldwide global. That'll give you probably enough to justify a third film, but barely.
Well, Afterlife's budget was
Mhm.
75 million as opposed to Frozen Empire, which was, I think you
A
said
little bit
100
more.
last night.
Yeah, a little bit
Yeah,
more. It's 100
it-
million. Yeah.
Yeah, and the problem is that it was they could have cut the budget substantially by just removing characters that were unnecessary in the
Well,
film.
we'll
But
get into that when
we'll
we
get
talk
to that
about
later.
actual-
Yeah, but in previews, this film is sitting at 4.7 million after last night.
It's a little bit better than I had originally heard. So, but I
Well,
was
but how
kind of
much-
disappointed. Yeah. With
How
the
much was
theater I
the
was in.
salary for Aykroyd and Murray? Is that,
Probably not a ton.
they were in it more, so is that
Oh, Murray would be asking for a lot of money.
is that maybe
They probably
why?
gave Bill at least $1 million. I bet.
Yeah, all I know is that he was only there for 3 or 4 days. That's just the way.
Yeah,
they
he
do
wasn't
it.
there for very long, but
But he was. I'm sorry. When the old people were together, it was great.
let's just say there was another bigger name that was not there necessarily that we're not going to get into for spoiler rides that would have probably cost them even more than Murray would have. But yeah. I think that this movie will be saved by Blu-ray sales. I think that's a good, because that's kind of what happened with Afterlife. I think they dumped this in a bad spot. They should have saved this for summer.
And that's, you can tell that it was aimed at a summer. It was aimed at last summer. The film was aimed at last summer to early part of fall, and it would have been perfect. But moving it around to Christmas and then to now really hurt what the potential of this film.
Well, and yeah, next week it's going to have no chance against Kong. No
Yeah,
chance.
but I don't know about that, but I do know this: it can stick around in theaters for a while, and if they leave it in theaters for 120 days, give it a full 4-month run, I think it'll get to the numbers it needs to justify a third film. But
I think the same people who are going to see Kong next weekend are the same people who are seeing Ghostbusters this weekend.
Yep.
Maybe because that's the issue.
me.
I think this is the thing I think Ghostbusters doesn't have going for it that Kong does. I don't think kids are going to be interested in this movie, sadly. I think the generation gap here with this movie is it's going to be for our generation and our parents' generation, but the kids are just not going to be into it. But the kids are going to go see Kong, right? And the other kids are still going to see Dune. Because I have a feeling Dune's going to still do pretty well this weekend, so we'll see. Wow, it was actually sold out for you. I'm glad to hear that, John. Mine was actually kind of depressing. And I looked at the later showings up through tonight, and they're still kind of depressing. But then
Mine
again,
is
maybe the
wide open
Ghostbuster
tickets.
but maybe the Ghostbuster crowd being an older crowd, there'll be people who will buy at the door as opposed to.
And
A
we
lot
went
of
in the
older people are
middle of the
still not
afternoon too, Tom.
true, but I'm saying I'm looking forward. But my point is, I don't think that the older generation really understands this reserved seating shit yet. Like my parents were really kind of like weird with that. And the only time I've ever had it to where it would have been handy when I didn't have it was when I got flip-flopped from theater to theater for that Jurassic Park incident, because I lost my good seats and I just said fuck it and left. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, the movie is not doing the best so far. We'll have to see how it fares after this weekend, but the audience is talking a little bit about Ghostbusters. Matthew W says seeing Ghostbusters after work. Awesome, Matt. Packing Proton says with $10, disagreed with a bit with Pro's review. The problem is people had with Ghostbusters 2 is that it was way too much like 1. Now they try something different and they can't win. Perfectly serviceable movie. Go see it. And on the financial note, Frozen Empire made 4.7, as we brought up. Afterlife did 4.5. It's going to get destroyed by Godzilla versus Kong. I agree with you.
No, he says so as long as it's not destroyed.
Oh yeah, but I think it will be, unfortunately. But it may hang on, like Culture says. It may have
legs.
Ability. Yeah. Daniel Davis says, just saw Ghostbusters last night in 40X and I loved it. Probably shouldn't have bought a drink though. Seats move so much, spilling constantly. Also, the theater was about 20% full. Yeah.
Yeah, 40X is no joke. If you got a large popcorn and a big gulp drink without a lid on it, that's substantial. I love 40X. I love 40X, but yeah, it's you got to buckle up, Buttercup, for the ride.
Doug 1985 saw Ghostbusters 4 last night. Going to see it again on Saturday. Yeah, I kind of want to see it again. There's some things I want to really kind of reevaluate in it.
Yes, there should be.
But it's not the things you're thinking of so much.
Oh.
You know, the number one thing that I want to reevaluate on it is because, Culture, you were such a fan of Bill Murray's performance that you said it was like primo Bill Murray, and that's the thing that, because I was not impressed, so I'm going to take a closer look at him.
I thought he was.
And I thought they let Aykroyd have a lot to shine with in this one. There's only one thing I didn't like with that.
Well, they mispresented his personality, but yeah, and I think they did the same thing with Winston. But
Dark King says, "Is Culture's beard sentient? It moved? No, it's got a ghost in it.
I have the ghost in the beard.
You do the ghost in the beard.
I think the movie would have worked better with 5 women.
Oh, Chris 24M sends in 5 and says Ghostbusters 3 should have been out in the mid 90s. Do y'all blame Bill Murray for that? Kind of.
Yes.
Kind of, but I don't know if Ghostbusters 3 would have done as well in the 90s, because Ghostbusters 2 did leave kind of a sour taste in a lot of the fans' mouth. It only did about half as well, I think, at the box office as the first one did. Granted, there was a lot of competition in 1989, but it was a disappointment at the time. Now, through the lens that we have, especially younger people at the time, because when I saw it as a kid, I had no problems with it. As an adult, I have more issues with it now than I did then.
Reitman not resented. That Reitman, what's the word? He was not happy that he went for the cash on it.
Mm-hmm.
I had talked with Joe Medjuk, his second in charge. I never talked with Reitman, but he went, yeah, that was a bit rushed, and
it was. The sad part is,
I actually enjoyed
I do too. But the problem with part 2 was, and you're not wrong, considering it was 5 years in between movies. It's weird to say that it was rushed, but it was, Paul. You're 100% right, because Bill, he got cold feet after the first film and didn't know if he could. He was afraid to come back to acting because he didn't know if he could match the success of Ghostbusters. So if you go back and look at his career, there's like a 4 or 5 year patch there where Bill Murray didn't do jack squat.
Didn't he just do that weird ass movie going to Tibet?
Yes, he did that before Ghostbusters, but it came out after Ghostbusters and it flopped. And see, that's where he panicked, and he did the cameo in Little Shop of Horrors. And then after that, he didn't act for another 2.5 years until Scrooge, basically. So there was like this huge gap in there where he did not star in a movie because he was afraid. And then Columbia at the time, because it wasn't Sony yet. Columbia told them, guys, we're going to make a Ghostbusters 2 with or without you guys. And the studio actually wanted to recast everybody. But Ivan said, no, we're not making a Ghostbusters 2 without the boys and all that kind of business.
Yeah,
and it was a big mess, and they rushed it, and it wasn't exactly what they wanted it to be, and it ended up being more of a rehash of the first film and not the movie that Bill was promised when they went to Martha's Vineyard to write it.
I actually visited Reitman and Medjuk, I think maybe right after they wrapped shooting, because Joe took me to the sound stage and I got to climb up inside the head of the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, wow.
So that was fun, where the rest of it was CG, but the head of it was obviously as a giant wooden substructure. So I got to play around in the head of the Statue of Liberty where they shot it. That was fun.
Yeah, there was just a lot of compromises on that movie made just because it was a rush. They had to have it out by summer, all that kind of business. And yeah, it was just,
it wasn't horrific.
No, it's not as bad as it could have been for sure. No.
And the guy that they played is for the museum dude with the accent. Hey, was that
Janosch?
He really went for it. I thought that was what made the movie.
Well, and I think I brought up one of the main problems with that movie last night, and that is that it concentrates too much on the Janosch and Vigo character, and we only see Ghostbusters busting one ghost. Of course, we only see the same thing in the first movie too, but I mean, even in the montage, it feels like they're doing more than in the montage for part 2, because part 2 is made up of scenes that were just cut out and stuff. But yeah,
it was such a great.
Okay, so there were many different factors that were going on at that time. I mean, Ghostbusters 2, adjusted for inflation, made $500 million, 535.
Oh no, it did fine at the time, but it also had to compete with Batman and shit like that. Yeah,
and that's what I'm getting to, because the original film, adjusted for inflation, made over $700 million in today's dollars. So when you look at the competition, though, as you were saying, I mean, you had Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Batman, Back to the Future Part 2. Look Who's Talking. Dead
Back to the
Poets
Future didn't come out till
Society.
later, but yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: is the first movie went up against Gremlins and all
Right.
those other things too at the same time, so you can't really give the second film that excuse. It's just
Well-
in this case, Batman did what Ghostbusters did instead of, as opposed to Gremlins did back then, right? So yeah.
Yeah, but you had 10 huge movies that
You
came
had a
out.
lot more than that in '84, is my point, though.
No,
That's all
but I
I'm
mean,
saying.
Okay. Again, there were 10 everybody saw the movies that came out. And then you had a significant number of films that a lot of people saw. I mean, Field of Dreams, that's an also ran that year. That isn't even like peak, right?
Oh yeah,
It's a film
89 was a
everybody's seen.
great year for film. I'm not going to deny you. My point is that it had just as much or equally more competition in '84, but the first film was the first film. It just being the second film, and it had a lot more original competition to go up against. That might be a better way of putting it, like Batman and stuff like that. But also had Lethal Weapon 2 and a bunch of other stuff that summer too. So yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I mean, you had so much that came out that literally that was one of the most competitive years. 84 and 89 are two of the most competitive years in film ever. And I mean, I don't know. I was always I was always amazed at what I was getting from the time I was in my teen years through the time I turned about 35. And then all of a sudden everything changed.
Well,
2010.
Dark King brings up here what I was kind of getting at. Who's the bigger payday, Sigourney Weaver or Bill Murray? Sigourney. Now, probably. I bet you. Sadly, but yeah.
She's not acting.
Oh, she is too. She's in the Avatar movies and stuff. She's in a lot of stuff all the time.
Okay, she's not acting.
Ha.
Where? She's making Avatar right now, dude.
She's not acting.
Bill is playing golf.
Who is more of a household name?
Bill Murray.
All I know is Aliens sold out their Blu-rays right now, so never underestimate the power of Sigourney Weaver.
To me, they're on. I would go see a movie with either of them in it. I mean, I think they're kind of on equal footing.
Maybe in that respect, but I mean, as far as acting goes, I think she's still acting more than he is.
She's not acting.
Where do you see this? She's got movies coming out all the time.
Avatar's not acting, bro.
He's dissing on Avatar.
Well, I don't care. I don't like Avatar either, but it's not like Avatar's her only movie.
What else has she done?
I'm trying to get to her IMDb because I know she's done a couple movies in the last few years here. Let's see. She's got a TV show that she's working on right now, Lost Flowers of Alice. She's in Avatar. She was in Master Gardener last year. She was in another movie called Jane last year. She was in Ghostbusters Afterlife, The Good House, a lot of smaller pictures, just like what Bill does. She was even in the Dark Crystal show. So I don't see where you're saying she's not
familiar with
acting.
is Avatar of what you just said.
Okay, now name Bill Murray's last 5 movies. Exactly
that
my
one that
fucking
he got-
point. You couldn't even name the movie. You said the one, and then he stopped because I interrupted you. But let's be real. Bill Murray hasn't done any big movies lately either, because all he does is Wes Anderson movies.
And Tom Hanks had to replace him on Asteroid City, sorry.
Yeah, so he wasn't even in that one. And then his other movie that he was going to be in got canceled because he got Me Too'd in it.
That's true.
Oh, yeah, that was ridiculous. But he was in Ant-Man Quantumania.
Yeah, and Sigourney was in Avatar, about the equivalent of. That's my point. Otherwise, his last big movie probably would have been Zombieland 2, I think was people are bringing up in the chat. Yeah. He's just a cameo, basically, in that. Sigourney was even in the other Ghostbusters movie, too, with him. So, anyway, that being said, I don't want to argue about their paydays. I'm just saying. As far as acting-wise, they're both on par. I think Paul's right. Gladiator sends in 35 South African Rand, says, it's time for Hollywood to excuse all our favorite IP studios like Paramount, Disney, etc. Don't seem interested in making fans happy or making money. Yeah. Well, to a point, you're pretty much right. I mean, Ghostbusters right now, I think, is a good example of the studio trying to do what the fans want. Now, I mean, it's going to get your mileage will vary with this film, but so far, at least the way it looks like the fans are reacting to this movie on all the aggregators, it looks like they're enjoying it, and there's no reason for them to come out and try to, fortify this movie in any way, because the critics are trashing it. But the funny part about the critics trashing it is the main reasons they're trashing it are A, it's not the girl Ghostbusters, and B, something that's kind of spoilery about the movie. But anyway, yeah, I think that you're not wrong though about Disney. Paramount, on the other hand, is about to get sold one way or another.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to buy it. They've got enough bidders.
That's a shame.
What's the new one, Culture? Because you just did a video on this, didn't you?
On which?
On who's hovering around Paramount now? Somebody just dropped like $11 billion.
Apollo Global. It's a equity fund. Yeah, they're looking to spend $11 billion, but they only want to acquire the studio products, the television and film studio. And look, Shari Redstone's not a fool. There's no way she's going to piece that off. She has too many other assets attached to it that make it all the more valuable.
Yeah, Warner wants more than that. Yeah, and so does Skydance.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think Skydance is the most likely of the suitors to win. I think Warner Brothers is a secondary. But no, Shari's not dumb enough to part with it. And again, I do cover this stuff on my channel because I think it's interesting.
So yeah, check out Culture's video on it, and
Valiant and I are interchangeable apparently. So.
Usually, I think he did one too. Is what I was going to say, which is why I was going to bring it up. But I haven't had a chance to look into it much, but I have heard rumors that they're circling like vultures right now. They're trying, like Warner Brothers is interested mainly in, I think, obviously CBS, and I don't know how interested they are in the catalog, but they probably are interested in the catalog. Otherwise, that's just it. Like a lot of these companies, Skydance is the only one that's really interested, I think, in the whole kit and caboodle, but I don't think they have the money. That's the problem. Because their company's only worth, like, I think, half of what Sherry really wants. So we'll see. But they have that Redbird.
The interesting thing about Warner's is, as I've been going through Tubi and watching an awful lot of old classic movies, the volume of movies that were made by Warner's is staggering.
Oh, yeah. And television, for that matter.
I'm not even talking about television. I'm just saying that I'm going, oh, I didn't know Demolition Man was Warner's. Like, just the endless stream of movies is just staggering.
Well, what they ended up doing is they ended up soaking up the MGM library through Ted Turner as well. So they have that. So they have every MGM movie that's pre like 1986, I think it is.
And then Disney,
not the UA movies, but just the MGM films. But yeah. So they added that to their mix as well. But let's keep going here. We got Graph Webb, who says with $2, hashtag cancel Disney Plus. Yeah. Well, we may have some Disney talk here in just a few minutes. And speaking of which, Echo Base Network was in the chat earlier, and they said that the Acolyte trailer broke a record with 51 million views in its first 24 hours. Mando Season 3 breaks record with 83 million digital views. More lies. That's right. You guys are working on a story that if you get a chance to hop in here, we may talk a little bit about. But yeah, it looks like Disney may be fudging the numbers a bit for
sadly,
the Acolyte trailer.
Nick is traveling to Motion and Coke at work, but so neither one can pull in here. I already reached out to them. But I would be in shock if anyone at Disney or Lucasfilm lied about anything, because I believe everything they tell me.
Mike, I actually don't believe you on that point.
Why shouldn't I believe Bob Iger? According to CNBC and other news outlets, he is the most amazing CEO ever, and people like me should shut the hell up and just do whatever he wants on his white enslaver voting card. Thank
you. Chaos Sonic 1 on that note sends in $2, says, Mike, is one of those new games Behead a Elf?
I am so sick of hearing about Elf.
But this is a good game. You get to cut his head off.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, that would be a great game, except then I'd have to play it and I'd have to chase him, and then no, that's
you didn't get me.
Yeah, exactly. And then when I don't get him, then I got to live with it. No, that is an awful game.
Heads up, you missed.
Exactly. No, see, I'm already getting like triggered. See, I'm already getting my stress. Games should be fun, not stressing me out and like reliving
Do you have a stress ball?
childhood
I'm
nightmares.
stressed.
I'm not trying
I'm
to
stressed
relive
just from listening to him.
my childhood nightmares.
Michael Nemo sends in 10 and says, "This isn't about good or bad. This is about power and who is allowed to use it." That line from the Acolyte is a message about the woke insertion in all franchises, Trek, Doctor Who, Bond, Marvel, Indie, in my opinion. Yeah, I can see that. That does kind of fit in their
Wheelhouse.
MO. Yeah. All right. So I can't argue with that, Michael Nemo. And we got Packing Protons, who says something totally different. Dragon Ball Park announced for Saudi Arabia, of all places. I saw that, but I'm not a big Dragon Ball fan, but I've seen some people were pretty excited about it.
Yeah,
Dragon Ball Park. So yeah, if you're a big Dragon Ball fan, head on out to Saudi Arabia. Kalekioki is. Oh, go ahead.
I don't even know what a Dragon Ball is.
It's the anime, and if the park was true to the anime and the manga, then you'd be waiting days between rides for anything interesting to happen. Ooh, that was a mean one, Paul. Sorry, Dragon Ball fans.
That sounded racist.
It wasn't racist at all.
I know.
It's
I just
just
felt
the
like saying
nature
it
of that style of
Trying to get-
anime.
I'm trying. If I learned that from that video. If I keep telling it to you, then they'll get me a check.
Gotcha.
I got to
You
do.
just-
I got to keep complaining and hammering on you so that
And
your
then
white
next-
guilt. Yeah, your white guilt kicks in, and then my check clears.
and then you call me a Nazi later.
Yeah, then we take it to
Yes.
the next level.
What are you doing here?
What is he doing?
What? Are you talking to me?
The Acolyte.
No. Oh, it's got 355K
Yeah.
downvotes. Yeah.
Oh, it's been reduced. It used to be over 500,000 downvotes.
I know.
Oh, that means that they're mucking with it.
Oh,
Yeah, it has 8 million views in 3 days, and it's 2-to-1 ratio on the loss there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Kalekioki sends in 5 on the Rumble side and says, anyone else notice a shit ton of Warner Brother releasing this year, the big screen and Max? Dune, Godzilla, Beetlejuice, Joker, House of Dragon, Penguin, something's up. No, they're dumping their stuff now. It's that time of the year. They held off a lot of their stuff from last year. Some of these things were supposed to come out last year, but because I think Joker and Dune were supposed to be out last year. Penguin was supposed to be done like a year and a half or 2 years ago. So they're just finally catching up. Because some of this stuff is still stuff that, well, I think some of these were ones that all but basically Godzilla versus Kong and Dune would be ones that and Penguin that Zaslav would have something to do with, I believe. So yeah, we'll have to see how they work out. But yeah, they're getting their stuff out there, trying to make some money. Pinochet's Helicopter Tour sends in 2 and says, do cultures beard hairs dream of electric razors? Yes, they do. Abdulio sends in 5 and says, Tom, you mentioned Frozen Empire is like a cartoon. For anyone who has seen them, does it lean more to real Ghostbusters or extreme Ghostbusters? Kind of a mixture of both, but more real. There's a lot of nods to real Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2. A lot of them. A lot of Easter eggs, a lot of nods. So Lavish Patch Kid sends in 10 says, I don't know why they went teeny bopper with it. Just get 4 funny adult male actors and make a good Ghostbusters movie. I see where you're coming from here, but I understand why they went this route. I mean, it's basically
deck.
I mean, I liked the idea of Phoebe like finding her grandpa's stuff because it reminded me of like finding my grandpa's stuff in the attic, and some of it may not have been shit I was supposed to be messing with necessarily, but
more interesting if she found Grandpa in the attic.
Yeah, well, she kind of did.
Did she? Okay, I'm just making jokes.
Well, if you've seen Afterlife, yeah, he kind of shows her how to fix the proton pack.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Keely Chow is here and says Evolutions is a better Ghostbusters movie than Ghostbusters 2016. Evolution. Oh yeah, that was kind of always, the fans always kind of considered that like a de facto Ghostbusters movie, kind of like how people consider Galaxy Quest a Star Trek movie. Yeah. And then Lavish Patch Kid also sends in 10 and says Ghostbusters 2 didn't make sense. People still didn't believe in ghosts after a 10-story Marshmallow Man walked through NYC. LOL. Well, there was no videotape back then. or there was video, but not like anybody got any video of it. And I had to remind people that the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man event all happened in one very small area of New York. And people don't realize how big New York is. So yeah, there's still room for people to go, I don't believe that happened. Because a lot of people were, because the city themselves pushed the idea that the Ghostbusters put on a light show and blew up a building, right? Like that's kind of the way they presented it as. So you got to kind of look at it from that perspective too. And look, I know you say this, but there's a lot of people who deny a lot of stuff and don't believe a lot. There's still people who think the earth is fucking flat and we never went to the moon. So there you go.
There's a lot of tinfoil hat.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not trying to come up with like a bunch of,
wait a minute. I think Paul and I have both seen the soundstage where they filmed that.
The moon?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had the Statue of Liberty there.
Well, Tom, did you see that clip of Dan Aykroyd? I tagged you on Twitter about him. I think it was just a little clip taken from the premiere of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. And he was talking about how, there's ghosts all over the world or something like that. So my hope is that's alluding to them dealing with ghosts.
I could almost see your excitement
around the world in another movie.
Yeah, I could almost see your excitement in that tweet, Six.
He has or had a Canadian show about spectral events and ghosts, kind of like a ghost hunter-ish kind of TV show that he took very seriously.
Oh yeah, his family was really heavy duty into that stuff.
Yep.
And he brought, in fact, you can almost give Dan Aykroyd credit for bringing terms like ectoplasm, protons, things like that nature to the common vernacular, because before that nobody knew what the fuck ectoplasm was. Like all these ghost terms and stuff.
Well, in many ways, Ghostbusters, especially the Harold Ramis version of the script, was making fun of Aykroyd's belief in it.
Kind of, yeah. Well, that's where the humor comes out of it, right?
That's exactly where the humor came
from. Like, and Bill Murray himself being a skeptic. Yeah. You never
studied.
That's a line from Ghostbusters. But no, that's where you got like Bill Murray being the skeptic of the group, right? And
right. But the entire premise of it was making fun of Aykroyd's belief and seriousness in it. That script would never have existed if Aykroyd hadn't written the original 4,000, page script. And then Harold Ramis said, well, we're just going to make fun of this all.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And he was the one who said, well, what this needs to be is a guy's going into business story anyway, right? Like that's the main core element of it, because you're right. Like Aykroyd's script was nothing but crazy nonsense.
Yeah.
It starts out with the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man on like page 12 or whatever. And they're already like Ghostbusters buzzing through the future and past at the same time, traveling and killing ghosts and doing stuff. It's just insane. And they're like, this is just crazy. So they just took the idea and Harold Ramis kind of funneled it into what it is now. So yeah, he's somebody who does not get enough credit usually for what Ghostbusters was, because you're 100% correct. And that's because he saw the absurdity of it too at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, the paranormal stuff and Bill Murray using it to get laid. I mean, this was all fantastic.
I love well, that's because one of the best, well, not best part, but the funniest part about that is like the whole Bill Murray being a skeptic is like when Sigourney Weaver goes, I don't believe in any of that stuff. And he pops up, well, I don't either. It's like, that's your job, dude.
Whatever it takes to get laid.
Yep, pretty much. So yeah. But before we move on to other news, because I don't want to lose everybody before we get to the other stuff. Let's really quickly, for those of us on the panel who have seen Ghostbusters, for those who haven't seen it yet, let's keep it non-spoilers possible. Just your quick kind of reaction to it, quick review. Let's start with you, Culture, since you just dropped your video, I think, this morning.
Yeah, I dropped a review this morning.
Give your 2-second review, or whatever you call it.
Sure. How many seconds?
2. 1, 2, you're done. I meant like 2 minutes, but I was being a shithead.
It's fine. Okay, so to carve it into 2 minutes, there were too many characters in this film. they relied too heavily on providing you a cornucopia of things. Probably it was mandated by DEI bullshit that's in all the studios now. There's part one. Part two is there was some nonsense as far as the way the story was structured. And I said last evening that you could reposition some things around and make this be a lot better film. You could have, the Patton Oswalt character is unnecessary. Ray could have completely handled what they bring Patton Oswalt in to do. And you could have made, and I'm trying not to spoil anything, you could have made it so that Phoebe's responsibilities were more about.
See, now you're telling us what you would have done with the movie instead of reviewing the movie, sadly, Culture.
That's true.
And I do this all the time. I do it all the time. I'm guilty of it.
I was just going to say, he took a page out of your book, Tom.
Okay, so let's just do this. And again, I'm trying to avoid spoilers. So ultimately, there are too many characters. Ultimately, the story structure is a problem. Ultimately, your pacing is uneven because at times you're rushing and at times you're going painfully slow. There was some oddness that I'm going to call it from now on, so as not to frustrate Tom and make him, get unhappy about the possibility that there was supposed to be some romance in it that, I'm glad wasn't. And there's a couple of bits that I thought were reaching, but overall, I enjoyed the film. I gave it a 7 out of 10, and I probably will watch it again, either to confirm or reframe my thoughts around some of the elements that I think some people might find difficult. How's that?
I guess it was an all right review. You didn't say thumbs up, thumbs down, or whatever, but...
Are you reviewing his review?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. Okay, we'll try this again. I said it's a 7 out of 10. You can put your thumb wherever you want.
Oh my. Well, 6 saw it as well. What's your reaction, 6?
I gave it a 7.9. Watch the trailer. Make up your own mind about whether you want to see it or not. Don't let somebody else review sway you. If you liked Afterlife, you're probably going to love this one. You're probably going to like this one. I don't know if it's so much worth seeing in the theater, but I don't mind watching movies on my phone. So I had a wonderful time, smiled throughout, and don't take my review with a grain of salt just because I also liked Thor: Love and Thunder.
There you go. Me, I think there's going to be 2 or 3 different.
And it's totally gay.
Totally gay. I think that there's going to be 2 or 3 different audiences for this film. I think the Ghostbuster fans, the hardcore Ghostbuster fans, are going to love it, especially fans of the real Ghostbuster series. I think the normie audience the mileage will vary. So far, it's looking like the normies are enjoying it for the most part. But I went with my best friend of my entire life, and he had his friends with him. And my friend liked it a hell of a lot more than I did. But I enjoyed it for the most part. I can recommend it. I'd give it like a 6 or 7 out of 10 in that arena. I didn't like it as much as Afterlife, but there are things I liked in it more than I liked in Afterlife. But Culture is not wrong. There's way too much going on in a 2-hour movie. It feels like 20 minutes of it is left or more on the cutting room floor. Not that I want that 20 minutes added back in, but I think I can agree that if you would have just excised a couple of these other characters, it would have given more room for the main story to breathe in. And you also wouldn't have this, well, we got to find something for this person to do, and we got to find something for this person to do. You get kind of that feeling as you get into the film a little bit. But overall, I thought it was a fun time. It's not woke. I didn't really have any issues with any of that kind of business. I didn't even notice any environmental messages in it, surprisingly. Especially after just seeing Aquaturd. It was refreshing to have a movie that could have totally went in the, oh, we got to do something about global warming kind of bit, and they don't even mention it once. But those who have seen the trailer, you brought up the trailer, 6. There's a lot of stuff that's in the trailers that's not in this movie. So that's where I think that there was like 3 different versions of this movie at one point, and this is a cobbled together cut of what tested the best. But yeah, I'm trying to get my hands on a script of it to see if what has changed or what was different, and if certain things were confirmed in what Culture said, because I think he says the romance that was cut. How do you know it was even there? So that's my thing. I'm going to say now, till I find that script,
because we watched it with our eyes open.
Yeah, I didn't see it. Nothing happened. You guys are shipping people that are friends. You're doing exactly what they do.
Hey, look, Tom Hanks is here. Wow. Hey, big fan.
Hey, Tom Hanks.
Big fan.
He looks stoned. So with that, is there anything more to say on Ghostbusters?
No,
Oh,
I
all right.
recommend it, and I agree it's not woke.
Warachi says, I find my interest in Ghostbusters waning, Afterlife notwithstanding. I think people who didn't like Afterlife so much might like this more, but
It's
people
very-
who really liked Afterlife might feel a little more unsatisfied with this.
I
don't-
think if you're a Ghostbusters fan and you like the first two movies, you'll like this movie. I think that this is more like the second movie, Ghostbusters 2, than it is like either Afterlife or
Yes.
the first Ghostbusters.
It
So
has
I-
a very Ghostbusters
it-
2 feeling to it.
It's
That's
a
how I
funny
feel.
thing- It's a funny thing about competing against yourself and trying to better what you've done before, and or finding a groove. And I don't think there's anything wrong with finding a groove. As long as the movies are not 10 years apart, I think you can get away with a movie that fulfills the entertainment expectations of the crowd. And you go, wow, that was fun. I enjoyed myself. It was worth the popcorn and the admission money. It's when you get a Star Wars movie or something like that, and the hype is so huge, and the budget of it was $300 million, and everything is riding on it, then there's just too much tension, even from the audience's perspective. I think they feel that they've got an obligation to enjoy the movie, or their favorite franchise is going to die. So this sounds to me almost more like a TV show where they're just managing to, yeah, that was a good one. I really enjoyed it. It's you getting into a groove. I don't need it to change and be that brilliant. So if that's the case, good on them.
And it kind of has that feeling, Paul, compared to Afterlife, especially. Like Afterlife feels like a movie.
I didn't like
But
the
after-
mother. Is the mother improved in this movie?
Yeah, she is. And in fact, there's some things, like, without getting into spoilers, I know some people had issues with the kids playing with the proton packs and stuff in the last movie. That is a big point in this film. Like, it actually gets addressed. Okay, so for those who had issues with that, I think they will like that aspect of it. As far as ghost busting and gear porn goes, you're gonna come all over yourself, Paul.
Well, I
Like,
mean,
you get more Ghostbusters and ghost busting and gear porn in this movie than you have in
okay,
all
that's
three
fine.
Ghostbuster
I
movies
like
put
that.
together.
I'm just
So I think you'll
concerned
enjoy it.
when a movie that shows young people playing with their wands. I have
No, they do a good job of addressing some of the concerns that some people had in the last film. They've added more concerns for people like culture, which I don't know. Like, I didn't have that issue watching the film. I'm having the issue more after the film because everybody's talking about it now. But that's a whole other conversation. And to me, I feel like
a good scripted thing that they did miss from the first movie, and that could have been a source of an awful lot of good comedy.
Well, look,
The
I enjoyed
of the devices.
I enjoyed the family aspect of this film. It's a lot more wholesome than you would think. This is a good family film. I said it in my review. I wasn't kidding.
I
You know,
want to
it's-
go see it tonight.
Yeah, I think people misunderstand. It takes a lot to get a 9 rating when I see a film. It's almost impossible to get a 10.
Right.
If you're using a 10-point scale. If you're using a 5-star scale, I don't give out 5-star ratings. It's just, I mean, you have to earn being an exceptional film.
Not even Showgirls?
Look, Showgirls may be a 3 in a 1 to 10, but it's one of the best movies ever made. Ask Elizabeth Berkley.
You're right.
No, I think you'll actually enjoy this one quite a bit, Paul. I think you will. And I think some people will. And there was a guy there that was dressed like a fucking Ghostbuster, and he was obviously having the time of his life.
I think that's important. Oh, culture. So what would you have rated Ratatouille?
That's probably sitting at about a 7.5.
What? Okay, I'm out.
Yeah. Well, no. One of the reasons being is Ratatouille, I think, is a fully fleshed out story with two. It plays out on two levels between animals and humans. It's one of the ways that Pixar and Disney has always been able to connect at two different levels with an adult audience and a child audience at the same time.
This shows you how much you listen to Paul. That's one of his favorite movies.
Racist is. I think it's at least a 9.5.
See, I knew it. See, okay, I love you, Paul. I pay attention.
Okay, but I'd listen to Paul, but Paul, what I want to say is it's not their peak film. What their peak film, if we talk about Pixar or Disney.
No. I'm just saying on its own. I think
it is one of their more original ones, and I'll definitely give Paul that. See,
sure, yeah. I mean, it's stealing from other great things like Lady and the Tramp and some other stuff.
Oh, minorly compared to like Cars and stuff, which is literally Doc Holliday.
We can move on. I just wanted.
We can move on, please.
I just wanted to find out what gets closer to a 10 for you, but I can't talk with you.
Okay, well, here's one thing I'll tell you, Paul. Like for me, Ghostbusters 1 is a 10 out of 10. That's a perfect film. Okay, the second film I'd give like a 7.5 to an 8. The Afterlife film I'd give like a 7.5 to an 8. This film I'd give like a 7. So but there's some things I did like about it more than Afterlife, and I think you will.
Do a rating. So. I mean, then you say Lawrence of Arabia. To me, that's 10 out of 10.
Well, so wait. Now, are you talking about Harris's 227-minute cut?
Oh, fuck's sake, Cultured, let it go! I know what he's saying.
Oh, okay.
The original Lawrence of Arabia is
Jesus Christ, dude.
So Ghostbusters cannot match Lawrence of Arabia.
Where's Ben-Hur? So you're talking about an epic
10 out of 10.
Yeah,
to me, the original Ghostbusters is just as good as the Lawrence.
You're comparing epics to Pixar?
Well, that's the problem when you have this rating. Hold on a second.
No, I feel awkward.
Yeah, you started this problem.
Sorry. Here.
No, not you, Paul. It was, yeah. Oh, yeah, no, I have that.
There you go.
1959. It was given out at the first day. If you went first day to the movie.
Then he took his first date to Ben-Hur back in 1949.
My mom got this,
I know. You just go with the bit, Paul. Jesus.
It's spectacular.
But these are people talking seriously about films.
I know.
And
that's
Paul,
beautiful, though. That's amazing.
That's gorgeous. See, and when will we do that again? When are we going to build epic grand sets like that?
No.
So, anyway. And Paul, you and I are more alike than you think when it comes to a lot of that stuff. So that's why I was saying you can't compare Pixar to these historical.
You almost need a different category of scales.
You do. So, yeah.
Anyway, I would argue though that the original Ghostbusters is on that same level.
I would. Yeah.
It's all Ghostbusters is almost a perfect film.
But sequels are sequels. And now this is the thing here is these movies are going to become, if this continues on, even if this movie does 45-50 million this opening weekend, I think that's enough for Rothman to greenlight another one. Because basically now the way these are set up, without getting too spoilerific, is you're kind of in the same place that the Jurassic Park films were. So they can just keep pumping them out if they really wanted to.
Well, I think the international market's going to save this one.
I think so too, yeah.
Outside of China and probably Japan, I think the international markets are going to
save this video, yeah.
Yeah, I think about 70 other markets are going to help carry this film to the 2/3 that we should expect. That's why I was saying, I mean, if this thing can get to 180 million and then you get 360 in the international markets.
I'm disappointed that we don't follow the Hungarian film market.
Well, if you want to do some research and point me towards some resources, I could. I'm not sure that would add more than 3 people to my audience, but hey, I'll take all 3 of them.
Yeah, and I have no more relatives there anyway.
But I know we only have Paul for a little bit longer, and I wanted to get into some of these other topics before we do lose you.
I'm leaving soon.
And Mikey as well. But Mike, Master Clockwork says with $5, if you and Elf have so much in common, you both love pussycats.
Yeah, but for different reasons.
Yeah, and they're different kinds. And mine and the kind that I like don't have any fur at all down anywhere.
Yeah.
Mikey, did you see my pictures of Beau DeMayo?
Yeah, thanks a lot. That was awesome. Yeah, it took 4 or 5 days for me to get that out of my head. Thanks for just planting that back in.
Speaking of Beau DeMayo, Paul saw the first episode of X-Men. I haven't watched any of them yet.
Yeah.
Have you watched any of them, Mike?
No.
So real quickly then, Paul, what did you think of the first X-Men since you got a chance to watch it?
So it's funny. It's too good a homage to the originals. I remember always thinking that, wow, this is really not as good as the Marvel superhero animations. I liked the X-Men, but the X-Men cartoon, which I watched all the time, I kind of just got into the groove of watching it, but it was nowhere as good as Warner Brothers DC animations, like not even close. And I went, yeah, these animations were really shitty. Yeah, that's what it reminds me of. But the story was fine, and we'll see what happens. And as a first episode thing, I went, wow, this really did pick up on what the original cartoon was like. Yeah, there's some modern stuff in it, but nothing that really bothered me. So I wasn't bugged as much as maybe other people might have been, based on our we have now an abject fear of modern audience insertion into our favorite pop culture properties. But I either I've been pummeled to death already, or I didn't really notice it too badly. I did notice that in the opening credits, they inserted Morph, which to my recollection, he, it, she, it, whatever, they were never in the original animated opening. So there's my review. One episode down. Absolutely fine.
It didn't make you gay?
I've been gay for a long time.
Well, we knew that. Okay, so it didn't make you ungay then?
Yeah. Made me Ben gay.
Oh, wow, that's stinky. But
So, yeah, we'll see how it goes.
I wanted to get onto this here too before we lose Mikey. Chaos Sonic 1 sends in $2. Breaking news from Clownfish TV: Eisner backs Iger.
Right.
Sort of surprising, but not surprising at the same time.
Like I said, I mean, Disney's trying to shore up support. They're and they really want to make this look like a non-competitive race. Mike and I already addressed what the likelihood is, and I already responded to this on Twitter. When
we shouldn't talk about it here because Culture already responded on Twitter.
That's right. He might do a video about it, Mike.
Hey, don't you go anywhere, Culture. I sat here like a champ.
I want his fucking hat. God dang, I love that hat.
I sat here for 45 minutes, Culture, and listened to you ramble on about God knows what and Ghostbusters that I haven't seen yet. You get your ass back here right now.
Michael Eisner has a kick-ass hat there, man.
I'm going to declare Culture racist on this stream for leaving when the Mexican guy's turn showed up. Notice that when the Mexican got to speak, Culture took off running. He's got a point. Yeah, it always has. It started with Midnight Edge After Dark, and it's continued on, Tom. Remember the olden days when it was you, me, Culture, and Six, and whoever else on Midnight Edge After Dark? Now you know we should rename the show Midnight Edge After Dark that Culture doesn't show up for anymore. That's what we should name the show.
You know what this looks like?
Bob Iger and Disney get backing in proxy battle from former CEO Michael Eisner.
Yeah, but you know what this picture looks like? What? I'm going to put 10 on Iger.
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, I see. I notice about that picture. Sorry, Mike. I just want to say, if he's only giving that fucking valet $10 for a tip, what a cheap motherfucking bastard! You were the head of Disney for 20 years. That's some cheap shit.
That's funny you mentioned
give a valet $20 and I'm broke.
That's right. That's funny you mentioned that because I was just at the Anaheim Convention Center and I was valeting my car. Every time I pulled it in and out, I gave my valet $20 near the Anaheim Convention Center. That's funny that you say that. You're right. Disney and its current CEO, Bob Iger, have secured the backing of Iger's one-time boss, former chairman and CEO, Michael Eisner. In a statement posted to social media, Eisner didn't name Nielsen Pelt, who's trying fund management, as mounting on offensive to win 2 seats on Disney's board at the April 3rd annual shareholder meeting. But the longtime media exec wrote that, quote, bringing in someone who doesn't have experience in the company or the industry to disrupt Bob and his eventual successor, note the word eventual, successor, is playing not only with fire, but earthquakes and hurricanes as well.
I thought Bob was a weatherman. He would know a lot about earthquakes and hurricanes.
Yeah. Had that incurred, what the hell? Where am I? Is that it? Oh,
That's it. Had
quote,
the Ed
that
incursion.
would have ended the Disney Corporation as we know it for the studio, theme parks, and hotels. Eisner said, lessons from 40 years ago should be applied to the situation faced by the company today. The company is now in excellent hands, and Disney shareholders should vote for the Disney slate. A number of potent supporters, including Disney family members, George Lucas, and Lauren Paul Jobs, have backed Iger, and the company's slate of board nominees
Lauren.
has not garnered nearly as much public affirmation. Though this week, Tran got a big win when influential proxy advisor firm ISS put its weight behind the activist bid, citing Disney stumbles with CEO succession.
Who cares?
All right. So Mikey is
What?
one of our financial analysts here on the panel, even though this is not financial advice.
It's not financial advice, and it's from a guy who holds a bunch of Disney stock between $172 to $178 a share, and is upside down as hell.
But yeah, so what's your main takeaway from this whole thing?
My take is that this is a battle on all fronts, and Nelson Peltz, Nelson Peltz is in a street fight, showed up for a gunfight with a freaking knife. If Nelson Peltz wanted to win this thing, he should look. I've said it. If Nelson Peltz wanted to win this thing, he should have gone on a massive social media campaign and massive TV blitz, not an occasional show up for CNBC. He should have basically blitzed the airways on CNBC, blitzed everywhere he could, reached out to everybody for as much support, nailed Elon, nailed other endorsements, and made a real move. Instead, he's playing. He's in a battle, and he's playing with like a pom pom. He's playing like it's like he's showing up for a gunfight and saying, "Yes, I have pistols in my box, and we will begin shooting at 25 yards on the count of 10." Meanwhile, Iger is pulling out any and all stops he can, everywhere he can, however he can, when he can, and where he can. Oh, and by the way, this morning Jonas alerted me that you remember how last year there was the shareholder meeting and it got kind of hot and contested and all that. Well, for this year, not only is it not going to be in person, it's going to be online. But in order to ask any questions, you've got to register in advance, state who you are, state your question, and the questions are going to be read. There's not going to be the ability for anyone to live call in. And it makes total sense to me because now I realize why I haven't been able to get a QR code. I asked my broker to see if he could get me a QR code, and he'd been unsuccessful as of last week. Well, now I know why. So it's going to be a big show in 3 weeks in April. Don't expect anything fiery. Don't expect any accountability. Don't expect any tough questions. Instead, our man Iger, I say that facetiously, is going to put on a dog and pony show, and Peltz is going to get his absolute ass handed to him in the vote. And guys like me and Peltz are going to lose. And when I get older, I'm going to be a grandparent, and I fully expect that I will not be able to take my grandchildren to Disneyland, Disney World, or any theme parks, because by that time they would have already fallen apart or be so debted and leveraged that the company will fail under the weight of its own egotistical, bloated debt structure.
Wow.
All right. Well, we're losing Paul here in a moment, so I want to let him go first. What's your reaction to Eisner after George Lucas and so many others now backing?
I have nothing to say. This is out of my bailiwick.
All right. Well, then go watch Appalling News and check out Call Me Chato. Anything else you want to plug then before you check out?
I had a phone. George Lucas called me, so I suggest you go to Call Me Chato and listen to the conversation I had with George. It's very enlightening and shocking.
I got some suggestions for your videos.
the
First of all,
lighting could be
not enough CGI. I think if you amped up the CGI, it'd be a lot better. And you need to be faster and more intense.
There you go. I love you all. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you hopefully Monday.
Bye, Paul.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Paul.
Bye, Michael.
That's my boy.
All right. So, Mikey, this is an interesting turn of events. I think you're right. I think a lot of people underestimated the backing power of Bob Iger. I think people overestimated the care of some other people about certain franchises and things, especially when it comes to the bottom line at the end of the day. I think, do you think, I guess here's my question. Let me jump to that. Do you think people are more scared of the uncertainty where pelts to get into this mix as opposed to just trying to keep the status quo at this point? Because we pointed out, like, when George Lucas, for instance, got his stock from Disney for the sale of Star Wars and Lucasfilm, it's worth now still, even though Disney's not in very good shape, than it was. It's worth more now than it was when he got it, right? So at this point, that's what I'm getting at, is like, even though his wife may have had something to do with that statement and she's in bed with these people and all that kind of stuff aside, let's just look at it from the broader aspect of, are these people just protecting their interests now? They don't want to lose any more money than what's possible. You think that's what they're doing here?
I think it's a little bit of all the above. If you look at some of the past targets that Peltz has gone into, many of those companies have not been super excited to have Peltz or anyone come in. Later, they changed their tune and changed their mind. But no one wants outsiders to come in. And I frankly think that Bob's got something to hide. I mean, literally, I think he's got something to hide. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's Forex. I don't know if it's, any of that trader stuff there's got to be some reason that he doesn't, because here's what Peltz brings to the table. He's bringing to the table not only himself and Jay Rasul, who knows how Disney actually works from the inside out. He brings a staff. They have a staff that when they go into a company, they have an entire team of accountants, finance people, and operational people that when they buy their stock and they go in and they get on that board, they have like their own department. So these will be working board members, and the Iger doesn't want that, and no one wants that. I think that's what this is. And I'm going to go back to what I always say. Disney is woke patient zero in terms of a Fortune 500 company. There is no company more important to push, whether it's trans agenda, gay agenda, liberal causes, whatever. There's no more. Disney is the quintessential American company. That's the American brand, the American family. And if you want to destroy America and you want to destroy a company that signifies and represents America, what better company is there to choose to destroy from the inside out other than Disney? So that's why your institutional investors are going to back Iger, because he's a puppet and he's a moron. And people like Peltz that actually want to fix the company and restore it to like, somewhere center, normal, where everybody can go and enjoy everything that Disney has to offer, is a threat. It's a threat from a Marxist standpoint. It's a threat from a socialist standpoint. It's a threat from a financial standpoint. And most important, it's a threat from a egotistical and control fucking narcissist perspective, which is what Bob Iger is. He's a narcissist, freaking asshole who is a control freak, and he's a moron. You can see it in his interviews. The guy doesn't know how to do anything in business other than buy shit with other people's money.
Well, what I love about this too is they keep bringing up, well, we don't want amateurs, or we don't want outsiders, we don't people. Fucking Bob Iger, that was why I made the joke about him being a weatherman. What in his past made them go, oh, he's obviously the guy for this job? What experience does he have in the industry that's any more than anybody else at that point? Because if you ask me, you have summed it up better than anybody else what Bob Iger's tenure at Disney has been. Buy a bunch of expensive shit.
Yep.
And hope to God you can make some money off it. And at first glance, things look good because, you buy something expensive that can actually generate money. It does that until you fuck with it. Right? Like, that's what happened, is he started fucking with everything. Started fucking with Marvel, started fucking with Disney. Well, Star Wars was fucked since the start. The point being is, like you said it yourself, he's like a drunk fucking wife with a credit card going crazy at, on Beverly Drive or something.
Yep.
And I can't believe Eisner could even get behind that. Because let's be real, Eisner, for all of his sins, was the man who brought Disney back from the brink of death. Yep. Right, Culture?
Yeah. Well,
a lot of time. I'm sorry, Culture. Let me just say this one thing, and then it's something that's all joking. I know I'm teasing you a lot on the stream, but this I got to give you credit for, because this was in 2 or 3 of your videos. What I'm about to say is that one of the things is that these people do things for each other and with each other just because of relationships. And Bob Iger, in fact, I think it was in your video 3 days ago, Culture, is a politician, Tom, and that's what you're touching on. And that's what Culture talked about in his video when it was a Sunday, Monday, I don't know. Anyway, but and go ahead, Culture, talk a little bit about that, because I mean, that's one thing that you've noticed, which I never really thought about it that way until recently. which is that he is a politician more than he is a CEO. Sorry, Coach.
Right, and no, it's just those are the relationships that you form over time if you're in a small club of these CEOs or CFOs or anything else. I mean, when you're a part of a broader conversation at that level, you are constantly trading in favors and other things like that. And Disney, has always had charismatic leaders mostly that were able to, use those favors to enhance Disney's position. Chapek wasn't exactly the most charismatic of individuals. It wasn't his forte, but he did understand the bean counting, and I think that they saw him as a threat to what they wanted to accomplish politically. When you look at, and Mike already you spoke to this, that when you look at Disney's decision making process, it does lean towards a politics almost 100% now. They want the influence in order to shift American culture and to shift civilization so that they can, reform it in this, neo-Marxist, utopia that they think they can craft, or at least put them in permanent positions of power. And it's being done at every level, from banking to entertainment, and even in video games, which is a form of entertainment. But the other thing people don't understand here is Eisner crippled himself financially because of the hat that's on his head. He went out and invested a bunch of his money into his own kind of a equity investment that went out and acquired a bunch of sports stuff that just became valueless over time. And he was able to wiggle his way out from underneath it, but he's still trying to play in the same club that he used to be in.
I mean, to draw a parallel, Tom, to what you're talking about, because you're 100% on the money, Tom. Both of you are. But Tom, when you were talking about a moment ago about, Eisner's the guy that, saved Disney, which he did. He literally brought it back from the brinks, right?
Yeah.
So you would think that he would be aligned with Peltz. Well, you know what? You would probably think the same thing of George Lucas and his estate. A guy who, the rookie, not rookie statement, which doesn't make any sense. Well, here's the thing. I'm going to go back to what Paul Chato talks about a lot. Once these mofos start making big time money and they start hanging out with each other, they change into different people, almost all of them, almost all the time. Money changes people. It really does. Money, power, status, control, and having to see each other at the same events matters more than being able to look yourself in the mirror with the same integrity that you might have when you were in your 20s and 30s or 40s.
Yeah, and to be clear, like, Eisner wasn't the only one responsible, right? Like, the part of the reason I said it is you got to give him credit because he was the captain of the ship. He knew what people were talented. He brought a buttload of people that he worked with over at Paramount. And you got to understand, he came from the Paramount that brought us stuff like Beverly Hills Cop, the Star Trek films, up through like Top Gun and stuff like that, I believe. So he brought all those guys, Katzenberg and stuff like that, over with him. And those guys also helped develop like Touchstone and all that kind of crap over there. I mean, maybe Top Gun was past their time, but I'm trying to remember the other movies they were involved in. But I know Beverly Hills Cop was one of them. Katzenberg definitely was behind.
Well,
But yeah,
and he also benefited, and both of you know this. He also benefited from having a very engaged and still family-oriented Disney family. Both times, the time to bring him in to fix Disney and the time to remove him to fix Disney, both involved a very involved family member, a Disney family member that actually led a campaign similar to what Peltz was running, absent, the more populist things that Mike suggested that I agree with. There are no Raiders involved here. Peltz
no. He means Raiders of the Lost Ark, and yes, that was one of them, and that's where Eisner had a good relationship with George Lucas as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look, all of these people grew up around each other, and all
That's
of them
the thing.
all of them kind of experienced that shift in the level of influence and power, Iger included. I mean, to go from a weatherman to running an entire, multinational, entertainment brand, is no small feat. You have to be politically minded. You have to be a charlatan. You have to be a narcissist, a sociopath. I mean, every single president of the United States has to be a sociopath. Just the politicians are sociopaths. They have to be. And that comes with a level of dispassionate, approaches to things. And you see that in Iger, where he can tell the lies he does with with conviction, because while he knows it's not true, at the moment that he's telling them, he believes them, so that he can sell them as well as he does. It's just the way it is.
Well, is there any more to say about this? Because I mean, at this point,
No, I
we
think
already
that's about
kind of
it.
knew. We already kind of knew that this is where this was headed. I mean, I'm not surprised. I'm less surprised that Eisner's backing him than George Lucas. But again, like Mikey and Culture, you just put it even more so, like I've been trying to say for a while. These guys know each other. They're all friends. They've been around each other for 40, 50, 60 years, right? When it comes to people like Peltz, they're outsiders to them.
Yep.
Or they already know them or they hate them, right? Like that's the thing, is you got to understand too. And that's what I've been trying to tell people about George and other people all this time too, is, if he wanted to, he could vote one way or another. There's other moves he could have made before this if he was really that concerned with things. But right now where George is sitting, he's sitting pretty. His stock is still worth twice as much as it was, or actually more than that, what it was when he got it.
Yep.
And we don't even know what stock he had before that. I guarantee you he had tons of stock in Disney before that too. That's why he's the he holds the most stock as far as any single individual.
37.1 million by all accounts.
However you want to put that. I'm trying to think of the wording, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Flash, I do not drink Red Bull because it's got bull sperm in it.
What?
I never had Red Bull. Yeah.
What? No, it doesn't. Does it?
Yeah, it does.
What?
It does.
I don't drink energy drinks because I like my heart.
Neither do I.
That was really gross.
You guys are weird.
You're weird.
I know. That's why I'm here. But I'll be less weird if you give me $1 billion, and I promise I won't turn into a sociopath until Tuesday.
Well, I wanted to spring off of this back onto the stuff that's actually on the thumbnail. I don't know how much longer you got, Mike, but the Acolyte stuff. All right, so there's this business with Echo Base. They weren't able to make it, as Mike said before. We did touch upon it, but springing off of the Acolyte stuff, because they're clearly trying to run interference for this show. But going off of everything we've been talking about today, there's this common thread that keeps happening, and we noticed there's a buttload of trailers. We've talked about the Beetlejuice trailer, we've talked about the Alien trailer, we've talked about what else dropped this week. There's a bunch of them already. And then we also got news that we're getting Leprechaun reboot, we're getting a Ghoulies reboot, we're getting a Popeye reboot. You're noticing a trend here that nothing is original. I mean, we spent half the time talking about Ghostbusters 4 all day long. As much as I enjoyed the film and love Ghostbusters as a franchise, I mean, one thing Paul and others have been bringing up is that we don't have any original material anymore. And I guess kids are also in the same boat. They're getting to the point where they're sick and tired of reboots and remakes. And I can understand why, because a lot of this shit is stuff that they just don't give a shit about anyway. And this actually goes with a story that I'm trying to bring up here, actually. That, that goes along with this. The kids are just not into all this reboot, remake, reboot bullshit. They want more original stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to get your guys' reaction to this, and especially since it's been a common thread through today's show. We're not going to go through the whole story since you got to go, but it just points out like Oppenheimer and Sound of Freedom and Barbie were big hits last year, while Marvel and Indiana Jones, Transformers, Jurassic World underwhelmed, while Super Mario Brothers, Five Nights at Freddy even when a fresh start on a previous IP, and now even Poor Things outperformed expectations and all that kind of things. So yeah, so this last year, as I think I brought this point up a while back, that we had a lot more original hits this last year than we did remakes, rebootquels, sequels, all that kind of crap. So I just wanted to get your reaction to all this stuff. Do you think it's, especially somebody who has a young kid, Mike, who's coming up in this era, what kind of stuff is he into?
He's excited for Godzilla left and right, and he is excited. I haven't asked him about Kung Fu Panda 4. I got to talk to him today, but I don't know. I he's so young. Frankly, I don't even know how he's into Godzilla. He just did a deep dive, and I mean, I've always loved Godzilla. He just, when he was like 5, he just went off the rails on his iPad one day, and just deep dived Godzilla. I don't know, but some stuff And I don't know. You know what he's interested. You know what he says that he and his friends are doing a lot of is creating their own stuff now. I just found out my 11-year-old.
Interesting.
I didn't even know he did this. This just happened in the last week. I just talked to his grandma last night because he's at his grandma's house, in Connecticut, and she said that he on his own wrote his own short story. So I'm like, I don't know. It's not even that long, but it's like 38, 39 pages. That's kind of big for an 11-year-old.
Jesus, yeah.
I mean, right? I mean,
That's a Warner treatment.
He's gonna send it to me today, but I'm just like, Jesus Christ, that's part of a script. And but he was on the speakerphone last night. I said, Max, why did you do that? He says, well, Dad, I want to write something good, and I think I got it in me. I'm like, I didn't think that way as a kid. When I was 10, 11, 12, I wanted to play outside, turn on the TV, and I was hoping I had enough money to go to the movies on the weekend. There was like no part of me. And I think what's happening is there's something bigger happening to this next generation, or at least my kids' generation, which is that Hollywood, by being so crappy and so sucky, maybe what they're doing, either by creating Midnight's Edge or Neurotic or even a Fire in My 11-year-old, what they're doing is by being so sucky and by being so awful, they are now forcing creativity to exist amongst people that either want to talk about entertainment, good or bad, or people like my kid who says he wants to write. Now, I thought he was a math head because he's like really good at math like I was. But now he turned into write. And I asked him on speaker, I'm like, why did you do this? He says, Dad, I feel like I have it in me to write something good. And I'm like, well, you have access to everything. He says, yeah, but I feel like I have it in me. But he's excited to see Godzilla. So I don't know. I mean, that kind of gave me a little bit of hope, I got to say. It gave me a little bit of hope as a dad and just as someone in general. Maybe we're going to have to watch Star Wars and Star Trek and everything else die off. But maybe there will be something on the distant far horizon that might.
That's kind of funny that you mentioned that. So could at some point Star Trek be like Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon?
Yeah, like that, something like that.
And these kids nowadays are just like, I don't want to mess with that old timey shit.
Right.
And now you said that he creates his own stuff. That's interesting. I like that, hearing that, because that gives me hope.
Done. I think I sent you some before, but he had already.
Yeah.
Last year he made a bunch of stop animation.
He did, yeah. Well, and here's the thing is, I think you got a point there, and I think that's where these kids are going to turn away from a lot of this modern entertainment, and they're just going to make their own, especially with AI getting where it's at right now. I mean, a kid could just sit down and type in what they want, and then just sit down and watch whatever it is they just typed in. It's getting to that point, right? Culture, go ahead.
Yeah, no, studios already have directors and actors, select ones, playing with AI. There've been a bunch of articles just this week alone in the trades talking about the fact that OpenAI and others are giving studios, actors, directors, producers access to these tools right now before they give them to us. Try to give the industry a head start before we kick their ass. But that's with people like Mike's son and people like, well, Tom and others. I mean, there's a boundless creativity in people. The problem is they aren't in the industry. Imagine being able to create a full-length film by the power of your voice, working for about 30 days, and all you have to do is somehow figure out how to train your AI to just keep reproducing the same character in these situations. I think we're not that far away.
No, I don't either. And I think that like Mikey's kid's going to be that generation that does that culture.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. Look, right now, and this is news that came out yesterday, and I cover so much material on the 6-Minute Daily. Sometimes I don't give it enough merit. I don't give it enough coverage. I don't talk about it enough. But they're doing the Sims video game as a film property. You have obviously Margot Robbie involved in that as a producer. I'm telling you right now, The Sims is already like the weirdest NPC game ever, especially after they inserted all the message garbage into it. So now you're you're basically taking Barbie and turning it into The Sims. That's all they're doing. They're repurposing the same concepts and ideas, and they're going to recreate the plasticine world that The Sims live in. But the reason that they're so heavily invested now in gaming is because it's the last place where you had creatives. It's why they are, purposely repurposing the Fallout games into a terrible TV project over at Amazon. It's why you will probably see something like Red Dead Redemption at some point. You'll probably start to see all these things play out, and once something like Red Dead Redemption is successful, and we get back to the Western, I think that, people will rediscover Westerns, and maybe that'll be the outlet to get out of the doldrums creatively that we're in now. So, but like I said, I think you're going to see more of this repurposed garbage in the future because they lack the ability to create things. They certainly can't tell a compelling story. So.
Yeah. Now, Six, I want to ask you this because growing up, we had a lot of, we just talked about Ghostbusters for the last 40 minutes. Growing up, we had a lot of franchises that were created from original concepts and ideas. I know, like, you're a fan of Twilight, for instance, as an example of something that wasn't even, 20 some years ago, if that. Where
Yeah.
even in the last few decades, we've had other things that create new IPs, but the last thing that I can think of offhand would be like John Wick and stuff like that. Is that something you've also noticed, or how do you feel about this? Do you gravitate towards something that's more new that you want to discover, or do you try to keep finding more sequels and stuff, things that you enjoy? Is this something that you're kind of finding yourself at odds with too, with all this sequelitis we have now?
Well, when you first started talking about how everything seems to be a reboot, a redo, or a sequel, I was like, what were the trailers that I saw before Ghostbusters yesterday? And so I looked up new trailers this week, and I'm scrolling through, I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 trailers. And I was like, holy shit, everything is a fucking sequel or a reboot. And I was going through the trailers I saw yesterday, and the only new one that I could think of was Tarot, which is a horror movie.
Yeah.
Which the horror genre is so good at coming out. I mean, yeah, it's all killing.
But it's still loosely based on a pre-existing kind of game, in quotations, but yeah.
Oh, it is?
Well, you can buy the tarot cards like you can the Ouija boards now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and I was looking at the trailers to see, okay, what am I looking forward to? Well, Godzilla versus Kong. Well, how long have those two been around? For forever, since before.
Right.
I mean, almost longer than Culture's been alive. So
almost.
So I think I'm just getting used to the fact that everything is a sequel now or a reboot, like Fall Guy. I never cared about Fall Guy. I don't really care about this one either, but I think I'm desensitized to it. When it comes to books, because I love to read, that the whole book genre or the whole book industry seems to be new ideas. It might be the similar ideas like witches, vampires, werewolves, that kind of thing, but it's still at least new IPs.
That's a good point, because Hollywood also used to get a lot of their original concepts from books. A lot of the time. I mean, I was doing air quotes there, by the way, for those who couldn't hear it. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point too, because I mean, the few books they do use anymore are just the young adult stuff like Twilight, Hunger Games. What's the other ones I'm trying to think of? And that Engines one or whatever, Immortal Engines or whatever the hell it's called. The other stuff, all that stuff they come up with now.
Yeah.
But like, I see video games are the next thing too, because you're not wrong. Like even Fall Guy, because it was funny because I think it was either my buddy yesterday was talking about it or his friend mentioned it. The same thing you just mentioned, which is kind of funny, about how all the trailers were stuff that's either reboots, remakes, or an adaptation of like a video game or something like that. And he goes, the only one that was original really was the Fall Guy one. And I said, actually, that's a remake of an old TV show.
Yeah.
He goes, it is? So I think, yeah. It's like, yeah. So it's like, and even Terror, because I brought up the same thing with Terror. So I'm like, yeah, well, I think it's the same people who made like Ouija and Battleship type of thing, but I could be wrong.
I don't think tarot cards I don't think you can buy Parker Brothers tarot cards.
You're probably, as far as like more mainstream, the Ouija board would be, but yeah, I'll give that one a pass, like you just said. Yeah, I'll give that one a pass. But Mortal Engines, that's the one I was trying to think of. Thank you guys. But yeah, no, like that's the last original gasp it seems like we had, was all that young adult novel stuff. I mean, even things like Game of Thrones were based on what? Novels that have been around for what, 30, 40 years now? I think. He's been working on that series now for a long time, I think.
Yeah.
I remember people reading it back in like the 80s or 90s. Wasn't it Culture? I think it came out initially. The Game of Thrones books started.
Yeah, I mean, it's been coming. He's been writing it forever. I've got some of the books behind me. So.
Wheel of
Hey, guys,
Time
I gotta
came
run.
out forever ago.
Yeah, it was the late
Hey,
90s. But
Mikey-
all right, yeah, Mike, any final thoughts from you, buddy?
No, thanks for having me. And it's been a rough and interesting week. Stay tuned. I think the announcements aren't over yet. I think leading up to this thing in April, it's gonna be it's literally like watching Disney play Game of Thrones. So
Well, good reference there, buddy. We love you, Mikey. When you can join us, hopefully you get some work done today. Go
well, I
have
got
some
3 o'clock.
tacos.
I'm already committed to do Echo Base, so I got to make some phone calls before that. So 3 to 4 o'clock East Coast time.
You know what's funny about those guys? I noticed they do their show less than anybody else on their channel.
What do you mean?
Like they've had me on there a couple times, hosted. You hosted. Do they ever show up for their own show?
I've hosted their show a couple times.
One of the best live streams I've ever watched was Tom and Culture hosting
my
Echo
God,
Base Network.
Six, weren't they amazing that night?
Amazing.
Oh my God, I agree with you. It is like I've seen some amazing live streams, but that 3.5 hours.
That was like a year and a half ago too.
Yeah,
It was.
so good. I was laughing.
Well, it was
my-
basically Toxic Tuesday on Echo Base Network is what it
well,
was.
here's the
I
thing.
miss
I was
Taco
driving like all
Tuesday.
over Connecticut, and my kid heard the whole thing. And you guys were, he's like, "Dad, what does that word mean?" I'm like, "Nothing."
I was so mean to Culture that day, though.
I had fun. I got to play the No song a bunch.
Oh.
That was a
All right, you
lot.
guys, I gotta go.
You
See
just
you later.
said
Thanks,
no.
everybody.
Bye,
Bye,
Mikey.
everybody in chat.
Love you,
Love you all.
Mikey.
Bye.
Full confession, I just kept swearing so you would play the No song.
I know.
Because I like the No song.
I played like 2 or 3 versions of it too, like the old version. They were
No,
like,
no,
"Whoa."
no, 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 no. I love the No song.
You just said a no word.
I did. I like no words though.
Well, I would say do we have final thoughts, or are there more chats?
Yeah, let's get on to final thoughts with this, then we'll get into super chats because I thought this was an interesting story. We did mean to get to it the other day, but it's kind of almost more ironic that we did wait till now because we got Beetlejuice and a couple other things in the meantime. So yeah, I think it is kind of an interesting point, and I am glad to see. And I pointed that out a couple times about Oppenheimer and Sound of Freedom and some other movies last year doing very well. Because I did feel like the way that Oppenheimer and Sound of Freedom and stuff played up against things like, even though Mission Impossible, like I said, we kind of sacrificed that to the gods in a way because of that. I mean, I think that may have hopefully sent a little bit of a message to Hollywood. I know Tom Rothman's probably happier for that because he wants to do more original stuff. So we'll see.
And they want to stop spending the kind of money that they're spending.
That's
They're
just it too,
overspending
right? Yeah.
I mean, you look at something like Cabrini, which came out recently, and that's another Angel Studios thing, I believe. And that's, in fact,
Yeah,
I
I should check it out because I got screener for that. Yeah.
And it's loved. I mean, that's a loved. You don't have to spend a bunch of money. You just have to make a good story, And there's plenty of good stories. I've got a bookcase here full of good original stories that nobody's making.
But Star Wars doesn't have books and comics culture to fall back on.
Anyway, yeah.
That bitch.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. It's a good thing to get to. But what is it? What's the chat saying?
I was just going to see. Let's see what the chat's up to. We got Pseudo Biden sending in $10 and says the TikTok bill is horrendous violation of the First Amendment.
Yeah, it is.
It doesn't require to be owned by foreigners. It just needs to be associated with foreign agents. Guess what Trump was called? Oh, yeah. I've not been keeping up with this TikTok stuff, but I do know I've heard a little bit about it. I don't know if you want to briefly get into it at all, Culture, but yeah, I don't do the TikTok and stuff, so.
Initially I thought the bill was a great idea, but look, TikTok is a bad idea. It's a bad plan. It's corrupted and compromising data of Americans at all moments of the day and around the world. It's not just the United States that's corrupted by it. If it were to be owned by somebody else, it'd be, an entirely other thing. The fact that they're willing to sacrifice every other digital communication to this stupid bill, which is quite possible and would literally put what's appropriate in the hands of one person, which is dangerous as flip. That's where I, was like, okay, this bill is a very bad idea. It got a lot of early support, in particular for me, but once you read through it and realize this was constructed in a way to give one person ultimate power, you've just turned the United States government into the CCP.
Well, then Pseudo Biden adds more with another $10 Rumble rant. I may have said super chat before. I apologize if I did. But thank you for listening over on Rumble to all our Rumble listeners right now. Biden can decide to ban Rumble or True Social on a whim before election. I'm surprised they even let you say, well, this is John Rumble. Never mind. Just call them Russian agent. TikTok doesn't peddle more brain rot than Facebook, Instagram, or Tumblr. Yeah, you're not wrong there on that last part. I can agree with that.
Was it Orange Man trying to get rid of TikTok back 2 years ago?
Trying to remember. I know somebody was. Was it him?
Yeah.
Was Trump the one who was against it? Well, that was because it's Chinese owned or whatever, wasn't it? Isn't it? That was the whole thing. And not only that, they could be using it to spy on us and shit.
Well, I'm just saying.
And that's why it's banned from the government devices.
Well, I remember when they banned fucking Furbies for that very reason, and now we actually have literal cameras and microphones. Yeah. Because they realized that Furbies could be used as recording devices.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, they banned them in government buildings is what I meant. But yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I remember, okay, so I used to work for Walmart. And you know what? This is to never mind.
And self-diagnosis. He also added that to it, by the way. Sorry. You were working for Walmart?
It's too politically charged. So I withdraw my story I was about to tell. I'm sorry.
No worries. No worries. All right, we'll just keep moving. Then Kareen sends in $4.99, says, have you all heard the rumor that Bob Iger is rainbow? He can't come out, refused to because of political goals. That's why he push. Oh, you know what? I never thought of this before, Kareen, but that 2-shower motherfucker could be. Because there's nobody else I know in my world. I mean, I take a lot of showers too, but like, that's some gay OCD shit.
No, like, it's not.
That's the type of shit women do. Like have a shower at work and shower twice. Because you know the motherfucker showers at home too.
How do you know?
Well, how could you not?
Why would you if you're showering?
Because you have it there.
I used to shower at the gym. And I like hardly ever showered at home.
I don't know. I'm just picking on him.
Okay.
I would probably shower too if I had one. ActionCom sends in 10 says, can you believe that people are trying to rehabilitate Walter Peck, conveniently forgetting that Peck was a government agent trying to get Venkman to incriminate himself, and Peck's actions led to explosion. They don't treat him that way in the movie. I mean, we've been joking lately about the fact that Walter Peck was right. The one thing that he did wrong in the first movie was shut the grid down. Like that was the whole thing that he did wrong. Otherwise, he technically was in the right because they were using unlicensed nuclear fucking accelerators. And I mean, in this movie, I don't want to get into spoilers, but he's definitely not rehabilitated in this film at all. Like his pure goal is to shut down the Ghostbusters. So yeah, and that's not even really spoilerific. That's just basically that's at the very beginning of the film. He flat out says it. Like my whole goal is to shut you fuckers down, basically. Yeah. Packing Proton sends with $10. I want to know if you have President Lenny if we get part 5. I sadly think that actor passed away, which is why we no longer have them as part of the program, if I'm not mistaken. I think he passed away like a decade ago, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while. I do remember he passed. I'm pretty sure he passed away. Yeah, there was actually somebody else I wish they would have had as at least governor. I brought up as a point last night. I thought was pretty funny.
That was a great show last night. Everybody should go listen to that.
Joe Pat 80. Well, there's a lot of arguing going on too over a stupid point.
I mean, it was kind of like 1 against 4.
Pretty much. Joe Pat 87 sends in $4.99. Says, "Can you imagine how that convo went? Please help, Mike. Don't wish you had somebody to help you with your time when your time was up." Is this for Mikey and we missed it, or is this a different Mike he's referring to?
Please help, Mike. Don't you wish you had someone to help when your time was up? No idea.
I'm sorry,
Joe Pat.
Joe Pat, you're gonna have to. Yeah, to be honest, neither of those guys have any integrity. You have to let us know who you're talking about. I think it's something to do with Eisner.
Yeah, Mike.
The C-Man says with $5, Eisner and Lucas backing Iger has got to be about politics. The elites have all the TDS, and Pelt is tangentially linked with Trump. Yeah, I know.
And Musk, yeah.
And Musk, yeah.
Yeah, and
There'll be adjuncts to it.
Yeah, I think that all of that was the two previous super chats were also saying essentially the same thing. That conversation had to be rather odd. between those two gentlemen. They didn't particularly care for each other and never really have.
No, same thing with
but they're
Perlmutter
all
too. Yeah,
they're all linked together. They all do business together. They're all shake and bake together. These are people that you came up with. You may have two sides of the club, but it's still the same club.
Basically, you have two different kinds of people here, and this is why I tried to remind people: love George Lucas, but remember, he's a hippie. He was a hippie,
so he smells like patchouli.
He does probably. Actually, he probably smells like. Knowing him, I picture him smelling like leather and cedar.
I bet he smells like old man.
He does his hair a lot, so I'm sure he smells like culture. Yes. But these guys are very left leaning, and they see guys like Perlmutter and Peltz as basically greasy car salesmen, right? Like the equivalent of. Does that make sense? Basically how they all see Trump, like you pointed out here. You know what I mean? And Musk now the same way. Now, before they had no problems with Musk until he was all for free speech and all that kind of shit. Then they didn't like him because then it's not controlled. So I think that's the main point. I could be wrong though. Then Joe Pat says neither of them. We got this one, but is that what you were talking about? And did Joe Pat get back at us in the chat yet? I didn't see him.
I didn't see it.
Okay, well, we're still waiting to see what exactly we're referring to, but culture assumes you were talking about the.
Yeah, Joe Pat, if you want to expand on that, you don't have to send another super chat. Just post
at 6 or something. Yeah. Brett Cohen sends in an Australian too and says, "When your hole is widened, stuff leaks out. Shower." Ooh, kind of like the Dune bucket.
Does stuff leak out of your Dune bucket, Tom?
If I tip it over, it might. But I'm supposed to wash it out with soap and vinegar. Pseudo Biden says Facebook also spy on us. Yeah, just as much as TikTok. Oh, Google does too. I don't think the fact that they're under the U.S. government spying makes it any better. I think it's the threat actually bigger since they can throw us in war. Oh, yeah. Well, not only that, what's funny is like we'll sit here and talk about something and then I'll go over to Facebook or whatever, and right there's an advertisement for what we were just talking about. So I know they're listening. You're 100% right. But yeah. This makes you wonder, doesn't it? And with that, we're caught up. Did Joe Pat get back at us yet? I just want to make sure we didn't miss his point.
Oh, but you know what? Jesus Davila sent a super chat in after Tom had hit the end stream button. And he said that I'm stalling. I sent it to Tom, but that was like a while ago. He said, "Oh,
that's right. Yeah, you said it last night." Yeah.
Should I put it? So prepared. Please don't fire me.
I think it was said something about being last minute, if I remember right.
It was something about just sliding it in.
Yeah. Well, I think he knew what he was up to. I think he knew he was doing it at the last minute. Yeah. I can't find it. I thought I had it here too. I think I know what folder it's in. Hang on. I just screenshot so much stuff that, I got to dig for it. Is this it? No, that's not it. Where the hell did it go?
I'm so sorry.
No, I can't find it. Jesus, I am so sorry too, because I thought I had it here.
He said something about just sliding it in.
Yeah, I know he meant to do it at the last minute. He was doing it as a joke. So we did get it, though. I just want to acknowledge it, like you said, 6. So thank you for that.
Thank you. But Joe Pat,
yes,
I was talking about Eisner and versus Iger.
That's what, that's
the Mike thing threw me off, but I think that was meant for Mike. That's why. None of them are named Mike, but Mikey. So
Joe Pat's on a first name basis.
Yeah, I figured. We got you, Joe Pat. Thank you so much, buddy. And thank you for the support. Oh my gosh. Mikey comes in with a shameless plug. If you need more Mexican rant, go to Echo Base Network after the show starting soon. That's right. Let me see if I can get the link. I'm sure the mods probably are way ahead of me, as they always are. And I want to thank you guys once again. And 6, of course, an extra special thanks for all your help today. You guys do a thankless job out there. We appreciate it, especially when things get chaotic in the chat. We know how it can be. And we appreciate all the help that you give us. Here's the link to Echo Base where you'll find Mikey in just a bit.
Look at that.
There you go. Oh, and Jason Webster sending in at the last minute says with a 20 Australian. International films are showing how small budget films can be successful. Yes. Godzilla -1 made $107 million on a limited release, no less, on $11 million budget. I'd still say it's closer to $8 or $9 million, according to the director. K-Horror Exuma earned $70 million against a $7 million budget. Damn, that's a lot. Yeah, Korean horror, horror general is a great way to make money off of not spending much. And Hollywood used to do that a lot. So yeah. But thank you, Jason, for the huge support. And yeah, go check out the guys over at Echo Base Network. Mikey will be there. Anything else you want to plug, Culture, on your way out the door?
Yeah, just I did a review video dropped this morning. I've got some other stuff that I'm planning to record, and I'll be doing videos through the weekend. So please check out the channel if you're not already. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. I am close to 25K. I was closer, and then YouTube did what YouTube does, but we're just under 1,500 from 25,000. Yay.
Culture, are you doing your interview stream tonight?
Yeah, I don't think so. Again, guests have been hard to come by. Everybody's very busy this time of year, but I suspect after we get through everybody's spring breaks and all the other stuff, we'll be back at it. And I've got, I do have the Sunday show returning this Sunday, so Tom can't take over 4 hours of the night anymore.
Well, this Sunday, I think you might get lucky that we might be taking Sunday night off, so you can just go at an earlier time.
Wow, even better.
Because we gotta reconfigure some things for the top 5 show and get. I gotta get.
Well, I like the top 5 show. I just haven't been able.
Never on it, Culture.
I haven't been able.
Yeah.
I have a complicated, busy life.
You got a wife.
Seems like you do a lot of sitting around chatting. But that's just
I'm gonna go.
an outsider's perspective.
All right, we're getting out of here. Love you guys so much out there. Six, is there anything?
Karaoke tonight?
There might be some Okie tonight. I think so.
Rianiti on ice.
CC Karaoke's channel.
Could
Friday
be
night karaoke.
Yeah.
Culture was there
Loki.
once.
It might be earlier if there's no Loki show. So, all right, kids, thank you so much. Head on over to Echo Base. Tell them we said hi. Take care of yourselves and each other. Until next time, as Andre always says, it's time for koalas in the rain.
Koalas in the rain. Koalas in the rain. No fucks given. Koala, koala. Koalas in the rain. Koalas in the rain. No fucks given. Koala, koala. Koalas in the rain.